You can hear me? Christopher Stacks. Thank you. Thank you. Espada. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What I'm doing here. Listen. Okay, here we go. Yeah. All right. Hello to everybody on YouTube and everybody coming in on X. Let me set some things up. Let me set some things up. Thank you on YouTube, 2A-J. Let me put some stuff in Jumbotron and let the judge know that he could log on now. What is this? Let's see. Gotta promote the barbecue sauce. Let me go to the website, jjbbbq.com. Let's see, copy. What is this? Paste. Let's see. At the real. Post that. Let me do another post. Where's the other picture at for the barbecue sauce? Oh, here we go. Oh, honey, I need to get it together. JJB BBQ Amazon. Put that. Let's see. Copy. Paste. Oh, what did I do with the damn picture? Oh, here we go. I thought I put it in here. Oh, there we go. All right, at the real Dana. All right, let me send this to the judge to have him hop on. Let's see. Copy. I feel like started. All right. And now let me put this in the Jumbotron. That and this. Okay. There. Voila. Dr. Mark, I got your message and I actually shared your video on my YouTube channel. And I did reply to you as well. Okay, so I sent the judge. Hi, Katalia on YouTube, Independent Gary, Real Queen, AMK, Deshawn. All right, so today's topic is it time for Black people to disown trash culture? And the thumbnail that I have on YouTube, it has Drake, Kendrick, because they've been trending for the past week or two. And of course, Sexy Red. FBA Goddess. That's why I saw the video of these young high school kids or middle school kids drinking tequila in the bathroom, listening to Sexy Red and that type of music. And they think that's cool. And that's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. And Sexy Red gotta go. She's trash. You know, she's twerking on the stage with a country music band, thinking that, okay, country music is popular because of Beyonce. And you don't realize that you look like a Black mammy and they're making a mockery of you. Even a Drake and Kendrick, the back and forth battle. Listen, it's hip hop. That's what you're supposed to do, right? But you Black people showed all your attention towards that battle. And only thing I'm saying is, if you could put that much energy, opinions, and clicks and views and likes to that, then you could put that energy towards something that's way more constructive and better. You could still enjoy it, but you have to match that same energy on something that's going to make your community better. And that's not happening. All the spaces that have been going on talking about reparations and what we need or whatever, whatever. But when it's time to do the work, most people run or they come up with an excuse, right? So of course we have to wait for the judge, and it takes him a minute to come on because of his Wi-Fi. Anybody want to request to come up now just to, talk about the topic before the judge come up? It's like an open forum pre-show. Hi, Dr. Mark. Just request to come up and I'll bring you up.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for sharing it on your page. I'm just trying to get it. I guess I'm gonna try that VidQ thing. I'm gonna
Yeah,
check
try to
that out.
pick you. I like the concept. Messy medicine.
Yeah, we did it before COVID started, and then COVID just shut everything down. So we picked it back up, and it's the four of us, and just we got other episodes dropping. Full episodes drop Thursday. So
Right. And you don't have to be in person. You could use StreamYard or Zoom and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna do like yeah, that's the plan. Like to use Streamyard to kind of, I guess we have like a little segment called Messy Medicine on Call. So like after hours at night, we'll just StreamYard and discuss the episodes and details. And hopefully one day as it grows, I mean, we can get audience participation and answer questions.
Yeah.
Trying to be like you, Dana.
I mean, listen, it's thousands of podcasters. So I
Yeah.
think you have a great concept, and definitely stick with it. Hi, real queen. Judge, I sent you the co-host request. So I see the judge is here.
Hey there, Sister Dana. What's
How are you?
poppin'? I'm good. I'm good. Just got off work.
Okay. Oh, okay, now he's connected. I just wanted to make sure the judge was connecting. All right. He came up here quick.
hmm
No
Hi, Judge.
interference this time.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe their attention is somewhere else, but all right, so we'll start the topic. And like I said, guys, if you want to request to come up to comment on the topics, or if you want to bring something up that's going on, current events, please do so as well. So is it time for Black people to disown trash culture? That's a question. You want to answer that, Judge?
It always gets me. Man, you understand, it's part of the black thing, man. We commit crime, man. We in the criminality, man. Pimping and hoeing, man. It's about the thing, man. No, it's not. See, that's why that stuff's called criminality, because it's wrong. Nobody steals from their own people, robs their own people, burglarizes their own people, rapes their own people, sells poison to their own people, jacks their own people, and gangsters their own people. Nobody does that. So where did we get this idea that that kind of wrong is the way it is? Where did we get it? From Hollywood, because for 55 years, we've been looking at black exploitation stuff. Now we don't even remember what the term means. So we have started to glorify dysfunction. Now, I studied propaganda intensely under somebody that ran the propaganda section for a big foreign government way back when. And she told me, she said, you can tell when your propaganda is working when your targets start thinking like you want them to, and they start using the terminology of the propaganda to describe themselves, the concepts of the propaganda to conceive of themselves, and start behaving as you are trying to get them to behave through their propaganda, through your propaganda, which is in a dysfunctional manner. So when we start acting like they wanted us to behave based on this black exploitation propaganda that started 50 years ago, I hear it all the time now, and it works. It worked, and we think that way. and we think negatively about ourselves, and it's not cool. So yeah, we got a trash culture. And the problem is what we think is our unique culture is just an amalgam in actuality of the worst points of the mainstream culture. It's not even ours. So
So I actually thought of this a couple of days ago. And then what happened, I think it was today, I believe it was FBA Goddess, like I said earlier, she posted a video, and I think you've seen the video of the young high school girls drinking tequila, taking tequila shots in the bathroom at 7 a.m. in the morning. It was early in the morning, and then you have the sexy red song playing in the background. But it's just that type of culture. And they think it's cool because they see these artists doing it. And as if they cannot separate reality from fantasy. We glorify a lot of these things. I don't like it when teachers to teach a class or to get the class to be quiet or pay attention, they have to do a call to action like a skeet or whatever, or rapping so that kids can learn math or whatever. I don't, I have a problem with that. Always the Detroit teacher that was fired for doing a rap video with the students, and now she's suing the board of education. um it lacks decorum, and I'm kind of emphasizing on education, but even we could go into the parents, into the home. Listen, it's okay to love hip hop and rap, but at the same time, you need to sit down and be reading to your children and helping them with homework and extracurricular activities the same amount of time that they're allocating towards silly stuff. And then when we move into the adults, when I see a lot of stuff that is being talked about, on X and other social media spaces, the Kendrick and the Drake battle, a lot of people are showing a lot of attention, clicks, views, comments, content on the battle. And that's great for hip hop, but that energy has to match everything else that people come on X spaces and other spaces to complain about when it comes to Black people in the Black community or the Black struggle. So you can't sit up here and say or complain about the Black struggle, but you give 80% of your time to Drake and Kendrick and Sexy Red and 20% to the Black struggle, or fighting against it or whatever, or to improve it. So it's like an oxymoron. And no, and so it's you have the youth and you have the adults, and there's no end in sight. Um
let me ask a question if I can interrupt on this. See, the question you asked that I got taught was ask this question and you get the answer that you need to get if you're honest with the question in your response. What does hip hop do for you? What does R&B do for you? What does jazz do for you? What does swing do for you? What's we used to call it bebop do? What's the blues do for you? Does it make your economics improve? Does it make your neighborhood safer? Does it make you a better parent? Does it make you smarter? Does it teach you how to go out and deal with the real world to improve it? Does it do something that enables you to learn something you otherwise couldn't learn? Or is it a distraction? Or is it just something that doesn't have any intrinsic value one way or the other? So, does it give you pleasure? But is there something that might have a bigger grip on your time or another kind of pleasure than the pleasure that you're getting from the music? So, ask that question, and your honest answer is determinative of its value. Plus, you have to put this other thing in there too. When we get focused on this, see, I saw what was behind it. Little sissy boy over there simpering around, switching and twitching. and he's giggling about the fools he's got under control because they dance to his tune. And he, hate to use the term, pulls his dick out and they'll open their mouth so he can put it in there because they want to make the money. And he's laughing about the image that he crafts for them or tells them what they're going to do. And then you go out and you look in the real world at the image these people have presented to the people that go out there and consume their music ferociously. And if it weren't so tragic, it would make you laugh. Now, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, and like I said, if you want to request to come up, do so. Mifta, you look like a troll, but I am going to bring you up. But I need to make sure that you're not a troll. I'm not in the mood for all that today. Can we just have a mature space? Um, but and I'm gonna come to you, Dr. Mark. I also want to put this on the table because Governor Hochul in New York State went viral. um, she said that what did she wait? She said that Black students don't know how to operate a computer. And so the context was basically she was saying how I guess Black children in the Bronx, they need help. There's things that they need because, especially with technology, because they don't even know how to operate a computer, which is a lie. And, Malcolm X laid it out best. You have to be aware of these white liberals, right? Because they're very racist. But that was a very ignorant and bigoted comment that she made. Yes, the kids know how to operate a computer very well. The cell phones, all this technology stuff. And my grandkids, that their generation, they're born into technology. The problem is the opportunity, the resources, and the focusness on, are you focusing more on kid play, playing on social media instead of IT or learning, what do they call it, coding or computer science and stuff like that, right? But yes, Black children know how to operate a computer very well. So, but where do people get this ideology from? And part of the problem is how we perceive or present ourselves out into society. And just real quick, and I'm a land. We did a show yesterday, and we were talking about, it was Ben Crump and Al Sharpton talking about how Black men are profiled, and they're profiled and being described as criminals all the time. And you said a lot of times, Black men particularly need to be aware of how they present themselves out in society, i.e., wearing saggy pants, not having your hair done. So those type of things, and just your mindset. So a lot of times when you have ignorant white people or other than Black people saying something, making an ignorant comment like that, or having these assumptions, they go by what they see, particularly in the media and in society. So I just want to lay that out there. Um, and the floor is open if you guys want to request to come up. Go ahead, Dr. Mark.
I think what we have to come to realize is this, that as much as people claim that they don't want to be a sheep, and they don't want to be programmed, we are essentially just all programmable. And whatever we lend our mind to is definitely going to have an influence on us. And I think the issue, I mean, everybody, there's negativity, there's a lot of trash culture along all races. I think the detail when it comes to Black culture, trash culture, is that when we look at, say, hip hop, for example, and we see the deviant behavior being glorified and treated as if this is successful, right? And we see that the people who are quote unquote succeeding at this, they share the same skin tones as us. Then there's this issue of this is the way to succeed, and then there's the self-identifying factor in it. And there's other issues within our communities. I think we've talked about it before with single parent households. Um, this influence in our youth will often go unchecked. And so we're just programming a generation to pursue uh, ratchet behavior in hopes of being successful. And it's a problem. But at some point, we've got to stop uh, blaming systemic racism. And was there racism in this country? Yes. Did it have an effect on Black people? Uh, yes. But what we can do is not worry about what our oppressors have done to us in the past or what racist people have done to our ancestors in the past. We need to look in the mirror and say, okay, what can we do ourselves to improve our situation? And so part of that is going to be saying, look, we need to, one, focus on stronger families, education, and two, we do have to reject um, trash culture or violent culture, misogynistic culture. This needs to be rejected, and we have to be loud about it because it's only going to hurt us in the end. And I say that we are probably most vulnerable to such messaging and such propaganda. And that's what it is. It is propaganda. And we're not the only race that faces this type of propaganda, but I do believe we're the most vulnerable. And just, um, I would say with hip hop and reality TV too.
I'm sorry. I pressed mute and I was trying to request for someone to come up. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard me say?
Um, we are programmed something with the kids outside, along with parents or something else.
Hip
Okay,
hop.
say that again.
Hip hop. You were
Yeah,
talking about hip hop.
right. So I would say the issue with hip hop is this, and why it's tricky to deal with. See, like I could watch Star Wars, right? And white people can watch Star Wars. Nobody's identifying with a Jedi because that's like fictitious. It's a movie, it's entertainment. And the line in hip hop has always been like, well, this is just art, right? The problem is it's art that's being sold as real. Reality TV is that way too, right? It's being sold as like this is real. And so it's being sold as real. Um, there are people that we all know in communities that are the drug dealers, the criminals, and so forth. We've come across those people, and in hip hop, uh, creates this illusion that hey, you can take this lifestyle, become a rapper, and succeed. And so it deceives people into thinking that it's real, and then we identify with it, right? Or there's this new, I mean, in the past 5 years, there's this new wave of for young women, right? And I see it across all races, young women, white, black, it don't matter. Go get a BBL, go get your lips enhanced, and then go on social media, show a little ass, because that's like a formula for success, right? And it's again, it's just it's people are able to identify with that, and I think because of the issues we already have with single parent households that's permeates our community more than others, our youth are the most vulnerable compared to other races for such propaganda. So we do have to reject it. Unfortunately, I feel that we're in the minority screaming for it to be rejected. And I just don't know how you get that out there other than just, more and more discussions like these to point it out and point out its deleterious effects on our communities, and not just our communities, but I think just trash culture, whether it's white trash, black trash, Latino trash, it doesn't serve any good purpose for society. But if we want things to improve in our communities, at the very least, we can always focus on what we can do and what we can control, and that is a heavy emphasis on family structure, education. I mean, God number one, and lastly, just a big repudiation of such toxic culture that doesn't serve any purpose. But it's serving somebody's purpose, but it doesn't serve ours.
Let me add something in this mix people don't like to deal with. When we talk about trash black culture, the problem is so little of it is masculine. Let's take gangster hip hop rap video. A lot of the feminists complain loudly that it's, male fantasy of dominance over women and the sexually explicit half dressed female bouncing around. That's not really what's going on. The girls are not sex objects. They are the mama, grandmama, favorite aunts, and friend girls thereof of the rap artist, or at least if the rap artist was real live, what he's purporting to be, that's what you look at. You go out in the projects and you go out and look on the back stoops in July and you see the equivalent of the performers doing the bounce, bounce, titty jump thing, the twerking bit. That's mama out there trying to get laid, and she's 17, 14 years older than the boy who is 15, and she's 29, and she's trying to get laid, and she looks like the dancers in the rap video. Uh, the ideation explained or displayed or expressed in the rap music oftentimes is essentially feminist. And if you analyzed it and you knew what was in the boy's head, it would be him being 9 years old, listening to his favorite 13-year-old aunt who's got his youngest cousin bouncing on her knee because that's her baby boy. And it's so unmasculine. It's so far from appropriate human masculine imagery and ideation. It's really kind of repulsive, but we look at it as being manly. And see, they sell that stuff all around the world because all over the Western civilized world, there's been this effort to emasculate the boys so they don't know manhood and they see something that they take for manhood, which, although on the surface, it looks like hyper masculinity. In essence, it's not, because masculinity is about duty, honor, obligation, support, protection, um, and establishing public peace, dignity, and order. And that's not what we're seeing. So we've got some long ways to go when it comes to trash culture. And it's not unsurprising that after a half century of intense modification of ideation, so dysfunction becomes glorified, that we get the result. The Nazis even knew this back in the 30s, and motion pictures were not that old, 30 years old at the time. And what the truth was about it, that they discovered that the American movie industry knew in the 1950s, the television industry knew starting in the 60s, is that all over the world, youth watch movies and they get their ideas of what's right, wrong, how to act, what's cool, what's not cool from looking at what's on the screen. So when you got 50 years of looking at something on the screen that is total dysfunction, that is promoted, it's not surprising that the result is what it is. So we have to get out of that trap. We have to go back, ask that question: what does it do for me?
Uh, oh, I'm
And
sorry.
where does it get me if I follow it? Now I passed the
Real
mic.
quick, I just want to correct myself. Governor Hochul, she was at a conference in California for economic opportunities and artificial intelligence for low income communities. And she was quoted saying, quote, right now we have young Black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things, end quote. So, which is BS. So, yeah, I just want to clarify that. So, real queen, I'm going to come to you. I'm gonna come to you, Stacks, and just raise your hands because I don't know if you want to speak now or later, but I know you were here first. So I'm gonna go to Real Queen, Stacks, Immortal, and the Negro. Go ahead, Real Queen.
Okay. Normally, I don't advocate for, let's say, the messed up stuff Black people do, but this time I will. It's like they say, one person's trash is another man's treasure. Now, with Black people being so behind economically, socially, culturally, politically, it's probably good to take the trash culture, but arm it with consciousness. Meaning, if a woman is wearing a two-piece bikini when you see her, but when you see her, every time something conscious is coming out of her mouth, it could be a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like Tupac being in rap, but he turned it around. I'm not really advocating for trash culture, but I do see an angle here. You know what I'm saying? To reach people, because Black people can be hard to reach. If you're wearing a suit and tie, you're speaking above them, it's going over their heads, they're not disseminating the information. You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying. Some people may disagree with you,
Hmm.
but like for Tupac, yeah, he could be a thug one minute and he could be conscious. He could be a whole lot of things, but he was a artist. Dear Mama, Brenda's Got a Baby, Keep Your Head Up, which is my favorite song of his. And a whole bunch of other things. And he was intelligent, but he knew to sell records he had to, dip in the bullshit. So I get it. Everyone is now unmuted. I didn't mute people.
Let me add something in this mix again. I was in New York and I spoke, it's been some years ago, at Ebenezer Baptist Church. That was Adam Clayton Powell's old church. And I brought an interesting guest along with me. He was a retired professor emeritus from New York University, slight guy in suit and tie, slender gentleman. He was in his 80s. He still ran in the New York Marathon, and he had a good, great sense of humor. We were downstairs, and the Street Brothers, Young, was bragging about street stuff and how bad they were. And you can't do this college thing because you got to be a man and you got to be able to be a stone cold killer, blah, 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 blah. So I'm listening to this. So I'm still up.
What happened? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you. I don't hear the
okay.
judge, though.
Yeah, maybe somebody called him. Judge. I think he's gonna have to drop down, come back up. We can't. If you can hear us, Judge, we can't hear you. Let me text him. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Drop down and come back up. I don't know what happened. All right. Let's I'm gonna go ahead, Stacks, because I know you said you were short on time tonight.
Oh, well, all I was gonna say, especially since you touched on Tupac, if you realize a lot of his positive music didn't come out until after he died, it was because the people who were producing him Uh, he already made a lot of that music, but they refused to let him release it because it didn't fit the image that they wanted him to represent. And it wasn't until after he died, some of his most positive music came out. And it's because that the industry wanted him to portray a certain image to make it cool with the current kids of that generation, and not to name no certain folks, but we already know who's in charge of those uh, industries, and they wanted us to embrace that. And like some of his most positive music, one of my favorite songs by Tupac is "Unconditional Love," and it spoke so deeply on so many things. And it's kind of sad that, and it's not like the song wasn't good or the music wasn't good or it wouldn't have sold. It's the fact that they're controlling our perception of ourselves.
That was it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I want to go to Immortal. Judge dropped down, so he should be coming back up. He probably lost connection. Go ahead, Immortal.
Greetings, greetings. I feel blessed to be on the stage with you again, Dana, and greetings to the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. Um, it's time for Black people to disown trash culture. It sure is. It's time for us to disown trash culture because we didn't make it. We didn't make any trash culture. We have to understand the difference between propaganda and what's really going on in our communities. We have to know the difference. So, for example, I heard, and I don't want to argue with anyone, so I don't want you to ask me a bunch of questions. I just want to make my points and shut up. But so if you disagree with this, if I'm wrong, then it is what it is. But the CDC said that they're going to do a study on fathers, and they did that study and come to find out on different ethnic groups, different races. They come to find out that the Black American father was the best father, whether he be living in the household with the children or whether he be a non-custodial parent. He was the most likely to help with homework, most likely to feed the child, eat with the child, cook for the child, take care of the child, talk to the child, do all these things. Now, understanding that the white folks who I call white supremacists, understanding that they say that black American men are the best fathers, I use my common sense, what is now uncommon sense. There's no way on God's green earth that Black American men can be the best fathers in this country if Black American women weren't the best mothers. So this is the reality. They did a study, and that's what they said the reality is. So what's the propaganda? That our families are all torn up and broken down and all this and that. Well, we got problems like every other ethnic group. The propaganda says that, oh, we got this trash culture and we do all this. But when you look at hip hop, when it first started, go back, look at music videos from, like, let's just say 91 all the way back. Go back and look at the women in those videos. They weren't half naked. They weren't all like you see some of the women in the industry now. They weren't. They was looking pretty classy and pretty nice and pretty beautiful because they knew, because the Black American men who was creating that genre of music understood that it was for the people. Somebody started a movement recently, hip hop high. Uh, I won't try to say it. Maybe I'll promote it later. But yeah, they got a whole thing of hip hop to reinvigorate it and make it what it used to be. I could sit here and play for you uh, pro-black, positive hip hop music that came out all in the last 10 years, and it'll take me weeks to get through it. But nobody's promoting that. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to comment on that. They want to comment on what Sexy Red did or said, or what some other rapper then did or said. That's what they're more interested in. That's the sensationalism. See, when somebody told me this about relationships, when you're in a good relationship, it's boring. You ain't arguing, you ain't fighting. Everybody's going to work, they coming home, having dinner. We do our thing every day. We might go out to, on vacation once or twice a year. It's just a good life and a good relationship. You ain't. It's not that exciting, So people want sensationalism and they want excitement and they want to believe in the propaganda that's made about us. To the point that people are saying, well, there isn't any racism anymore. White people ain't doing nothing to you. That's a dangerous thing to say. That's a dangerous thing to say. You can be killed for speaking up for black people today, lynched. It ain't been that many years since an activist right here in St. Louis went in her backyard and her son had been lynched, hung in a tree. One of the Ferguson activists. So I recognize what's being done to us. Now, to Judge Joe, what I love about Judge Joe Brown is he's going to say, well, if they're doing that to you, what you going to do about it? Now, do something about it. That's the part where we have to do something about it, not fall into lockstep with propaganda that's being made about us. We got the best families. We got the best mothers. We got the best fathers. If I was a police or if I was a judge living in the community that I live in, I'm gonna land it with this. If I was a police or a judge living in the community that I live in right now, all I would come into contact with is criminals and miscreants and all that. But I'm not a judge and I'm not a police. I'm just an average everyday citizen. You know who I come into contact with? Working men, taking care of their children, doing coaching little league, trying to give a direction to the youth who may not have the economic way out. That's what I see black men doing. And then this subculture that we have that like to do these things that people are talking about and trying to ascribe to us as the common thing that we do. Those guys, it's a hard life for them in the black community. It's no easy life for them. I've seen a lot of guys who lost their life to just an average Joe because they overstepped and thought that drug life, that tough guy stuff was going to get them through. It don't always get you through. You get to messing with the women and children of the community will take care of you. So it's not accepted. It's not, something that has been embraced. But on the other hand of that, you got these miscreants with nothing to lose. They look at life like they got nothing to lose. They carry all the guns. They stay high. So unless it's an extreme situation, the common man going to keep, move on. But they don't run free through our neighborhood. That's why even in the old days and even today, the smart ones, they'll try to give some to the community, even if it's superficial. They'll try to bring a turkey. Hey, every turkey's for everybody to keep the community from blowing their brains out. We don't go for that weird stuff, all that goofy culture, all that. We don't. So let's not get into the propaganda and look at it like it's real life for us. That's the propaganda they put out there. These music industry companies, once the money got put in there, they paying for what they want to listen. Black people aren't supporting that dumb stuff. That's white people buying that. Once it switched over to gangster rap and once it switched over to the stripper rap and all that that's mostly white people buying that. And if you're riding around in your car listening to that and you got children, you need to stop. You need to cut it out. So I'm gonna land it with that.
Thanks.
Immortal, I appreciate what you just said. I'm back on. I'll tell everybody what that was about in a bit, but I'm not gonna break up the thread right now. You're exactly right. See, Immortal's talking about the reality in the black community. All of the men are still out there. It's just that what is being lied about and the propaganda that is trying to push this glorification of dysfunction that's been going on for the last 50 years is black men aren't fit to run anything. That's why you got all these sapphire bozo harlots, these Jezebels like Fanny and Letitia and Beetlejuice, aka Lori in Chicago, and this kind of group that they're trying to force off to run the black community. It doesn't work that way. And see, there are a lot of black men out there, but they're trying to act like we don't exist, so we will get to thinking that we don't exist. But Immortal is exactly right. We do. There are a lot of heroes out there. Most of the ones that this generation calls heroes from my generation or the generation before, there are a whole lot more that are more real than them, but they've never heard of them because there's been a concerted effort to conceal them from you. See, you get gangsters going out gangsterizing stuff. And okay, I'll give you an example. Tookie Williams was a 14-year-old kid on the playground I was a director on. It was Trinity Avenue Elementary School in Los Angeles, California. The head playground director, he was the youngest in the LA City school system, was named Clifford Stewart, Dr. Clifford Stewart, Grand Master Clifford Stewart. Look him up. Clifford Stewart, bodyguard for the stars. He's now deceased as of 2 years. Master Ron Chappelle, Dr. Chappelle, Dr. Joe Brown. And we ran the neighborhood. We took the thing over. We got the community organized. We started training the youth. And even Tookie, once we couldn't get him out of the swamp, his mama wanted to check, so he became the baddest alligator in the swamp. He even had a sense of right and wrong that we put in his head. And if you want to read about it, read the books he wrote that the governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, should have commuted his sentence to life rather than the chair. But maybe Schwarzenegger wanted him to die because he and Tookie used to spot with each other at Gold's Gym pumping iron out in Santa Monica. So there are all kinds of things behind things, and there are programs, there are ways of looking at life that can happen. And there were a lot of heroes in and around that. They weren't making much money, but they said, we want boys in the neighborhood to grow up to be men. And we'll make sacrifices for that. And see, there's other stuff too. Back to the story I was telling when I had to take this emergency situation. I'm in the downstairs basement assembly area at Ebenezer in Harlem. That's Adam Clayton Powell's, Congressman Powell, Preacher Clayton Powell. That's his church. And the young boys were talking about how they were all this and all that, and how you got to be willing to take life. So I'm on the podium and I said, let me point something out to you. I said, you got to look like a thug, right? Yeah, man, it's thug life. I said, but that's not the reality. I said, there's one person in this room right now that's officially credited with killing 23 people, at least, minimum. Huh? Man, the dude must have just got out from doing time. No, he hadn't gotten any time out. See if you can pick him out. They had no idea who it was, so I kept running down the list. I said, he got on a suit and tie. You mean one of y'all up there is the one that done killed 23 people? Yeah. 23 people. You lying. Official. So I started giving them clues. So finally somebody said, wait a minute, was this in a war? Yeah, it was. So he's a fighter pilot. His name is Professor Roscoe Brown, no relationship. Captain Roscoe Brown, 332nd Airman. Right now, the U.S. Department of Defense, once they got a hold of the Luftwaffe records since the wall fell over in Germany, and they've been going through computers and analyzing them and knocking some of the white aces down because they didn't get the kills they claim, and they're ramping up some of the 332nd for the claims that they made that they didn't get. Roscoe Brown's now the third highest scoring ace in the U.S. Army Air Force in Europe in World War II. So he's been credited with killing at least this number of people, and some of them were twin engine and twin, 2 people per airplane. That's why it's 23 instead of the 18 he's credited with killing outright, including 2 Me-262 jet planes. So look at him. He's a professor, stone cold killer. He'll take your life. Won't think any damn thing about it if he feels he's got justification, but does he go around looking like a thug? And by the way, in my career as a criminal defense lawyer, there's some serious folk I represented, some stone cold killers, some pro killers. They never got any time. I represented them, but they kept killing. They retired. They wear suits and ties when they go out on business. Because why? Cops got an awful hard time trying to articulate probable cause because somebody's got a briefcase with a suit and tie on looking like he's going to a business meeting. So what are you going to do? Camouflage? Oh man, you got a dress. No, man, you thugged out. You got a sign around your neck. I'm committing a crime. I'm the fool out here trying to tell you that I'm doing wrong. I got my pants hung off my ass like I'm trying to be made into man pussy off in the penitentiary because the long timers and the lifers, you know, they ain't got no soft booties to work. And they're trying to make one. And there you go. That's what you're trying to do. I mean, 21st century, come on out the closet. Don't nobody care. But you want to go advertise that you thug, and meanwhile you get treated like a thug, and you over here whining to me, Judge. They put a case on me. Well, how were you dressed? Well, yeah, man. I would. Well, what you think's gonna happen? It's 4 a.m. in the morning. You in a good neighborhood. You got the music blasting. Your registration is a month out of date. One tail lights out, and everybody toked up. You know what you think's gonna happen? You put a case on yourself. Meanwhile, my guy over there, he's a professional hitman. He killed a lot of people. Nobody messes with him. Well, he doesn't look like he's a thug. And I wouldn't be you if he was after you. Ooh, no. But you see, we got to go for this image, and it's stuck on stupid. For God's sake, quit getting stuck on image. You know, you want to go off and spend your money on Air Jordans and Nikes. Are you playing basketball? Okay, that's fine. If you ain't, go look like you're doing something else. You know, get your shit together. There's business out there. There's an opportunity for you to be a hero. Or ladies, a shero, that might be the case right now. But it's out there. You can do it. Quit thinking negatively. When I studied propaganda, they said you can always tell when your propaganda is working because your target starts thinking in terms of the propaganda you're trying to slip into his head. When you use the terms that the propaganda wants you to use, because the propagandist is also causing you to think of the terms as negatives subconsciously, and you use the terminology that he wants you to use, you think you're being friendly. You're not. Your subconscious is getting on yourself and you're still using them. So start thinking positively and stop thinking in terms of what's in your way and start looking at it as it's a challenge. See, some of the people I know and associate with growing up, it's like some people today, oh man, aren't you scared? In my crew, oh man, look at all the opportunity for excitement. We can be heroes. And we wouldn't be doing it for BS. We'd be doing it for righteous cause. And see, we walk around and we look and say, dude's got his hand in his pocket. What's he holding? I don't see the right kind of print. He ain't holding nothing. He just got one hand that is out of the picture. He's sitting up there, got his earphones on. He is not paying attention. Okay, that one's got his hair looking like antenna from some spaceship. Some aliens came in. You can take it and break his neck real easy because that's a nice little leverage point right there. And this fool over here, oh man, you can jack him quickly. Look how he's walking, totally oblivious to what's going on around him. You see, people think like that. Some of these folk that went off and volunteered to go over into the sand pile, they come back with some skills. And unlike in past wars where, you know, the infantry's out there and they fired in that direction, keep the enemy's head down, and, you know, you sprayed those bushes, you might see some dead bodies when you get over there. These guys didn't do a month in hot combat, 2 months in hot combat. They were over there for 12 months at a time. They put the red dot on somebody, squeezed the trigger a few times, and watched them drop. Stone cold killers. And you have them back, and they're responsible members of the society. And you out there thugging and banging, and you have people that want the neighborhood clean. You listening to this nonsense foolishness BLM is putting out there about, oh, we need to defund the police. And you got 15, 20 folk for every one of those fools who's saying, hey, I'm tired of putting my grandchildren in the bathtub to give them a little armor when they come over to visit in case a stray bullet comes through the wall. Or the police didn't have to do that. And then you got 38 other folk walking around in the neighborhood. They should have put his fool ass on the ground coming up in here clowning like that. See, and people forget that. And we have to take that into consideration and start getting the trash out the culture and start getting back to the fundamentals. If you're a man, you're about the business of duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, accountability, courage, and bravery, making where you live a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. You're about public peace, dignity, and order, and that's what human males have been about since there have been people on this planet. And if you're a woman, you support that too. And you have some babies to take care of, and please take care of these babies. I don't care whether you want a career or not. Your primary responsibility is not your career. It's your family situation. If you're a guy, it's not your hustle. Your primary situation is taking care of your business so you can do what you're supposed to be doing. And if you want to get the trash out the culture, get into that. That's where it really is. Now I pass the mic.
All right, I want to go to the new Negro, then Macau, and go back to it was Dr. Mark, Stat, and Real Queen. Go ahead, the Negro, not the new Negro. Anybody else want to request to come up, please do so.
You can let Mikkel go ahead of me because where he's at, he has bad reception. It's not and he can go and I'll go after him.
Okay, go ahead, Macau.
He's in Africa.
Thank you, great, beautiful, Black, amazing family, and thank you to the great host, Dana, and to the savant, Judge Joe Brown, and thank you, my brother, Negro, for allowing me to speak. A mentor of mine, and I'll be quick, once told me, he said, Mikkel, you know that you are a man when you replace anger with solutions. And that resonated with me. And I'll give you two examples and how it helped me through two different situations. I have, a history with Pac and the Outlaws and so on and so forth. And I'll take credit for influencing certain members, specifically of the Outlaws, possibly changing their lives. Changing their lives. On one occasion, one of the Outlaws invited me to an after party that Soul Train was having. I pull up, and there's pandemonium. They're outside the club, ready to shoot it up. Specifically, their target was a bouncer who would not let them in. And he had a history of whatever club he was at on the door, he would not let the Outlaws in. And they were plotting literally to kill this man, cold blood. And this is what was told to me. And I approached the bouncer and I asked him, what's the problem? He said, well, these little niggas, every time they come to the clubs, they always create problems. They're always doing this and they're doing that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll let them in when I get ready. I said, listen, sir, I give you my word that there will be no problems tonight. And if you detect that there may be a problem, you come to me and I'll nip it in the bud. And that's my word. He said, cool. He said, what's your name? I said, Mikkel. I go back to the so-called leader of the Outlaws and I said, listen, That man right there is the man that you want to kill, right? Correct? And he wouldn't look at the man because he didn't want to see this man as a man or as a human. I said, no, him right there. That's who you want to kill, right? And I said, look, that guy right there, this is the guy. And he looked. I said, okay, you know who he is? He's the butler. You want to kill the butler? Why wouldn't you talk to the owner of the club instead of plotting to kill the butler? And I could see in his eyes the logic that connected with them. And I said, listen, I spoke to the man. He's going to let you in. It's not going to be a problem. When I greeted the man and, you know, I shook his hand and I patted his left side, and that's where his pistol's at. All right. So you give me your word that there won't be any problems. Gave me his word. No problems. Done. On another occasion, at this point, I'm working with a gentleman who became a two-time mayor of LA, Eric Garcetti, top strategist, running his office in South LA. And Eric was a friend of mine, but I had told him I would help him under the conditions that he would make sure that Black people in that community got jobs or got contracts or positions within his administration. And he gave me his word. One occasion, I had a meeting with, I would say, the de facto leader of the Crips, Big U. I didn't know anything about their gang culture. I'm from Philly. It's a different type of gang culture than LA gang culture. And I began to teach them strategy, teach them how to develop independent expenditures and so on and so forth, teaching them mentality, how to move, how to navigate within those spaces and how to get those contracts. And on one occasion, they couldn't meet with me. And so they barged into the office, you know, doing what they do, yelling, we got to meet right now, got to talk. And then Big U followed after them. And I remember this like yesterday. He sat down with them. I sat down with them. And he pulled out his pencil and pad. Now, Big U is also the guy who founded Nipsey Hussle. And he's definitely the guy who's overseeing a lot of what, you know, what Kendrick and many of them, Snoop and all of them do. He's created football leagues and so on. So Big U pulled out his pen and he said, Mikhail, what should we do? And I gave him a list of options. You do this, they're going to do that. When you say this, they're going to say that. You wait 5 minutes, look left, they're going to do this, et cetera, et cetera. And he's writing this down. And I'll close with this. And he says, I get it. Now I understand. You're a strategist. This is what you do. You understand? They got, of course, you know, they got contracts, you know, do security at their schools, Crenshaw high schools, and so on and so forth. And to this day, I mean, he called me to see if I could help them get music equipment for Crenshaw High. And we're still friends, you understand? And he still calls me for advice. You know, so the point I'm trying to make, you listen to people that may come from a different place. Their heart may be right, but in the back of their minds, they want to be geniuses. They want to be strategists. They want to be seen as somebody. And you empower them with a sense of beingness and make them know that they are the most important people in the world, and they will do great things. And I'll land with that. And thank you for the opportunity to speak again. Love you all.
Thank you. I'm going to swing back to.
Thanks for the commentary. That was great. That's reality. Thanks.
I'm gonna swing back to Dr. Mark. And
Yeah, you want to skip me, Dana?
okay, so now you want to go? Go ahead.
Yeah. I just let him because I let him go because the brothers in Africa, I know that they have bad reception out that way. But it's time for Black people to disown the trash culture. I'll go one step further. I think it's time for Black people to switch our morality. Not in a negative sense. Like, one of the things I observe is that how I'm going to look at it from a Christian perspective. Black American people, we have white Jesus, all this other stuff. The more I've been doing research about Christianity and different systems that we created on our own, that we have that specifically for us, I look at it that we're praising the wrong God, or we're praising, and then we're complaining about the results that we're getting from a spiritual perspective now. And I didn't know that Negroes in our lineage, we had our own God per se. That's written by various different theologians and scholars. This is something that my preacher never talked to me about. And then when I look at the basics of us being a nation and stuff like that, some of the ingredients of being a nation is having a national religion, or also having languages, which we do have, like Tutnese and other languages as well that we use. And then we have other things a part of the culture. I see the birth and the making of a nation, and the people who don't meet that standard of that nation, they're going to be casted away per se, one would say. So when I look at the situation in the title, I look at it that there needs to be a revitalization of our people when it comes from a spiritual perspective about who we are, from a spiritual perspective, so we can change the outcome of who we are into the physical. So that's what I look at from this whole disowning the trash. I think that we need to change our God and put our original God into place and move forward.
All right. Let me throw this in before I swing back to the repeated hands. I'm gonna go to Dr. Mark, Stacks, and the Real Queen. And anybody else want to request to come up, please do so. I want to bring this into the conversation. And I said to the judge today before I even started this space, I was like, I kind of want to, after this space, stray away from just talking about Black issues or whatever. There's a whole world out there with a whole bunch of different stuff that's going on, right? And I'm going to talk about other things going forward. But being that we're talking Black today, honestly, I feel that Black people as a whole, whether you're a kid or an adult, male, female, it does not matter, have childlike behavior that stems from post-traumatic slave syndrome. Doesn't matter what you do for a living, doesn't matter where you fall in the income bracket. I believe that Black people in general do suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome. And part of that syndrome is childlike behavior, whether it's the thinking, whether it's what you do, how you act around people or whatever, socialize, it doesn't matter. But I wanted to put that out there. And because I'm saying that, I'm not a therapist. But when we talk about reparations and people want to talk about white supremacy and everything like that, you're not going to see a Black person admit to having any type of traumatic issue internally that they're dealing with. And that is a problem. The lack of accountability. And I just think Black people as a whole is just stuck in a big denial thing. So, yeah. Let me go to Dr. Mark, then Stack, then Real Queen. And anybody want to request to come up, please do so. And then if you want to mention something else that's going on, you can as well. Hi, shut up. Go ahead, Dr. Mark.
All right. Just wanted to say that. Listen, I agree with everybody who's saying, listen, it is propaganda. Um, it definitely is. Look, to Judge Joe Brown's point, there are plenty of good Black men, intellectual Black men, intellectual Black women. There are conservative Black men and women out there, but those who control the media, they're going to have you believe that there are no conservative Black people, that there are no intellectual Black men or strong Black men existing anymore. Okay. Now, a brother brought up a study about the CDC, And it is true. The CDC said, I'll just clarify it though. It was looking at fathers, out of fathers who lived with their children, right? That was the key point. Yes, black fathers did it the best, right? And look, I'm a black father, and I know the men I associate with, whether it's through business, through work, or whether I'm golfing with them, all married men, all active in their child's lives. We coach our kids, we play golf for our kids, we go fishing. Absolutely, I've witnessed it firsthand, and I can tell you that from these households, these kids are magnificent. They're wonderful. Going to Harvard, to UCLA, medical school, law school. Um, if we have more families, more fathers living in the homes, we will produce. We will. I truly believe this. If we got our single parent household rate comparable to what white people are doing, or like at 30%, we would outperform. That is my wholehearted belief. Despite the obstacles that may be, we would outperform because I see it uh, in real time on a daily basis. Um, Now, with that said, um, sure, we do have a higher single parent household rate, and we do have, we know from studies that single parent households tend to produce more problematic children. But it's not like um, everybody is a criminal, right? When we talk about murderers, we're talking about maybe, and Judge Joe Brown may know better than I do, but I think the numbers are like per year is probably like 3,000 murders per year, with black individuals involved. Um, that's a very small percentage of like 45 million. But the way the media, the messaging, the propaganda would have it, it just makes it feel like, oh my God, like this is how all of us are. And again, those who are controlling the media, this is what they want. They want to, for whatever reason, present Black America as, as far as the men go, no, lacking leadership skills, lacking intelligence, lacking honor, um, not being family men. This is the image that's portrayed, and that we're all like these gangsters, and that's just far from the truth. The way I think, the only way I could see that this changes is basically a social media revolution, where we just, again, get in spaces like these, and just, you have to just keep getting the message out, to counter the negative message that's being broadcasted on the television set right now. And that's just, at the end of the day, we're all programmable, and that's just what it is. And so if we don't have enough messaging, enough speaking engagement like this to enlighten others, and I get enlightened by this, and then I share it with my friends, if that doesn't happen, then we're just going to get stuck in a rut. And I'll land right there.
Thanks. Um, Stacks, then Real Queen, Immortal, and then Arnessa. Okay, I don't know what's going on, Real Queen. You keep dropping down. Go ahead, Stacks.
First of all, well, we got the judge up here. I just want to tell him I appreciate him following me back, and like, I just made it to where I could be monetized now. And really, if it wasn't for a lot of the videos he did where he was telling the truth before telling the truth was popular, I would have never made it here. And he's really given me a lot of ammunition and let me know it's okay to have some conservative ideas. Um, Secondly, I want to say, like, we all got to make sure we're aware that there's a few liberal people out there that's just pretending to be conservative, saying racist things on posts. And like, when you see them, first thing you got to do is look at their followers. If they have less than 100 followers, that's a red flag. You shouldn't even respond to them. Like, the next thing is like I actually had a situation where I ran into a person, I posted something, and then they were like, "Hell yeah, brother, white power, MAGA 2024." And then I looked at, like, I answered them back. It's like, look, I don't like, if you're trying to make people feel bad because of their race, everybody should be proud of who they are and their heritage. But to make somebody feel bad about their race is where that's racism. And like when I went back to their followers and I looked in further, I followed them all the way back to their actual profile. And it was a white girl that's a liberal that blocked me, that was just pretending to be this person to try to get a reaction out of me. And they're those people, they're just trying to divide us. And there's just people out there that just want engagements. So they're out there saying stuff that they know people are going to argue with them with. And we get like, a very masculine thing is control, where like women are more emotional, men are more self-controlled. And that's what we need to go for. If you're reacting emotionally, you're going to mess up everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. So a lot of people just do things for attention. And that is one of the downsides of social media, I get it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There are ways that you can counter that as well. Um yeah, just a lot of fraudulent content. I
You well, the thing is, you really gotta go and look at their account. If it's less than 100 followers, you better off muting them. I wouldn't say blocking them, because that could potentially stop you from making money in the future. You want people to comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you, but I can't hear anybody else
Oh, you
now.
can't. All right. So, you can hear them speaking. Drop down and come back up, because can you guys hear the judge?
I can hear the judge clearly.
Okay. So they can hear you. You just can't hear no one except for me, Judge. So
Yeah, I can just hear you.
yeah. So drop down and come back up.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm gonna land my plane
all
there.
right, you all drop right out, come right
Okay.
back. Okay.
But I want to say, like, it kind of discouraged me a little bit when I went and the dude was attacking you, and we didn't have more people defending you. We need to defend our black women, whether it's going to get us anything or not.
Oh no, I totally get what you're saying. But as far as that situation, um, what
He
you
should have
just
been flooded. We should have we he should have been flooded with people defending you.
Yeah, not because it's me per se, but just
Because
on
it's a
the
black
on
woman that's
on
just
the
trying to do
well,
something
it's
positive.
I just think honestly, it could be that, but just on the fact of principle, if you know the difference between fraud and real, you know what I'm saying, between the fake and the real. So I totally agree with you on that. But again, like I am a full-time content creator, so I know what comes with the job. And I do have counterattacks when people try to come at me off of social media or say anything fraudulent about me on social media. So I'm just not a regular person on social media. I actually have a business and this is what I do. But you're absolutely right, to where a lot of people do not stand on principle because it's going back to what I said, childlike behavior, post-traumatic slave syndrome, and they would never admit to that. But just on
Let me be the first to tell you, if you ever have that problem again, just mention me. Just put my tag in there. You don't even have to say nothing else.
well, no, that's fine. Honestly, I'm not even dealing with people like that. So that situation
That's
is
my
wrapped.
game. That's what I do.
No,
Please.
I know, but you could engage, but I'm not going to tag anybody in nothing. I just ignore people like that, and that situation is already handled. That situation was handled from the beginning within 24 hours. And this is just a disclaimer, and then I'm gonna go on to the other speakers. You know, I don't pick fights, and I always tell people never pick a fight you can't win. But I don't pick fights,
I
but
appreciate both of y'all. So like whatever I can do. If there's any problems y'all have out of people, trolling is what I do. Like
Well, no, that's fine. No, now that I know that, that's cool. But what I'm saying is, because I'm a content creator, there's certain things that we have to know, and there's certain protocol that we have to, abide by, and how we approach things. So we just don't jump out the window when you are a content creator. But we do have buffers, we do have legal, we do have advisors. But what I'm saying is, when you do try to come for me, anybody, just be prepared for the reaction. So
I'm
I
here for it.
right.
I'm
Thank
here
no,
for
no,
that
I
reaction.
totally get it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I don't want to elaborate any more on that, because that's handled for sure. Um and that particular situation will not be reoccurring again. Because I know for a fact, if it was to, that person, it would be bad for the other person or anybody that want to follow in that person's footsteps. And that's on God. Um Real Queen, you up here, and then Immortal, then Arnessa.
On God.
The Negro God, right, Dana?
I don't do that. God isn't a human being like that, so I don't do that. I'm not tribal like that, honey. All right, go ahead, Real Queen.
Okay, hold on. Just a minute. Hold on.
All right, let me go to Immortal while you do what you're doing. Go ahead, Immortal, and then I'm gonna go to Arnessa, and then I'm gonna go to Derek.
Thank you so much. Look, you you really touched on something when you start talking about that post-traumatic slave syndrome. And like you say, most of us, we want to say that it's nothing wrong with us. That's the first thing a black person will tell you. I've seen white people work at a restaurant and they catch fire at the restaurant. And that white woman never went back to work. She went, I can't sleep. I'm having dreams of fire every time I sleep. Now she on disability. Ain't been back to work in 30 years, you know. But us, if same thing happened to us, we'll just, well, the fire here that burnt me on my arm and stuff. Hey, well, why you keep waking up in your sleep like that, wife or husband? Oh, well, I just got nervous. That's how I'll be all right. That's how we are. We try to suck up everything. No, you have to look at what happened to us. You really have to understand how it's affecting us as individuals and us as a community. And what helped me a lot with my issues was to understand what's going on. And the one that helped me out with that a lot was Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. That was a whole doctor. And similar to the way, well, yeah, real similar to the way that Judge Joe Brown has used his education and expertise to fight for his people. Y'all better check his resume. He's used his expertise to fight for his people, from getting people released from jail who was innocent, getting people off death row. He done good things. He was a defense attorney. He gave good, everybody had a chance. You could have been a miscreant. And you come in his court, he'll give you a chance if you was worth a chance. He's fight for our people. And so did Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, using her expertise. And she's the one that helped me a lot with that. So if y'all just study what it is that's post-traumatic slave syndrome, study what that is, and then study everything that Dr. Frances Cress Wilson say. I didn't agree with everything she said, but she helped me. I don't agree with everything Judge say, but at the end of that's one thing about my master teachers. At the end of the day, you don't matter what you disagree with. At the end of the day, it's gonna be what they said. You have to deal with what they said. You're gonna have to process it, and you're gonna have to find a way to accept the good things that they're trying to give you. You're gonna have to figure it out. But Dr. Francis Cress Wilson really helped me a lot. Dr. Shahrazad Ali, listening to Malcolm X, professionals like Judge Joe Brown, the real estate broker who mentored me, had been selling. He told me one time, he said, I've been selling real estate when you was born, man. By the time I came to him, he was already in real estate 30 years. I was 21. You know, and people like this, you have to, let's recognize, that all of us are suffering in that way to different degrees, everybody to different degrees. So that's what helped me, and I wanted to tell y'all that too.
Thank you. Real Queen, let me go to Arnessa because she's a new speaker, and then I'm gonna come to you, Real Queen. Then I'm gonna go to Derek. Go ahead, Arnessa.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to elaborate on this, on a little bit of what the gentleman before me said. There was something else that I wanted to touch on, but hopefully it'll come back to me as I'm speaking on this, because we were talking about the post-traumatic slave syndrome or disorder. And it would be good if it was in a post situation. With some people it's just slave syndrome, okay? And so and there's a lot going on as far as the changing of guards. There is a lot going on right now, just in our nation, but not only in our nation, in the world. And for whatever reason, we believe that some things are not connected to us, and everything is very much connected. And that's why we have to pay attention to global issues as well as some tribal issues. What I do like about Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us" song that I have actually taken the time to listen to, I like the delineation that he does, because I think that Black Americans in particular, um, out of all the people on the planet, suffer from identity crisis the most. So I think that is between how we handle things as a culture. There is a difference to what our culture is actually founded upon and what other cultures are founded upon. And we do have a culture that is rich, but has been also infiltrated over the years. People will come in, they'll copy a lot of what, and we actually give a lot of things away. And then there's also been legal ramifications for us, legal ramifications that have put things in a position where we could not keep certain things private. Because if you're not allowed to read and write, then how can you get a patent, with the certain inventions? And then, we just we stayed in it over generations. We have always stayed in a situation where the outside world has been able to gain access to private and sacred spaces that should not be touched, and amongst our family, amongst our community, and just amongst us. And sometimes not knowing who we are as a person, or as a tribe, okay, or as a community, and not knowing our strength, not knowing where our power actually lies. And so giving that power over to people that are coming powerless, and we're not really understanding that as a people. Okay, they're powerless and they're coming to you for a reason, and we're not understanding why they're sizing us up. We're not understanding what it is they want from us. We understand that we're different. We understand that they're not like us, but they are making themselves appear to be like us. And what they're doing is they're putting um, gatekeepers in our culture after they find out how the culture works, so to speak. And then now we have to go through them for our own culture. And I'll just bring up something so small, actually, that I say small, but something that we all can pretty much see within our lifespan, which is marijuana. We're just gonna take a look at drugs, because first and foremost, with marijuana, or with whatever they want, because they have so many different medicinal names now that they have broken it up into various different sectors. Okay, you got hemp, you got marijuana, but anyway, they've taken Kush, and they have something that is indigenous to certain tribes of Kushites or Black people, and they have now, once they put laws around it and said it was illegal, then they jailed a lot of people behind it, and then in jailing them, they were able to question them, And then in questioning them, they learn the process, they learn how it works, and they learned how to work it. Because here's one thing that we don't understand. We think that we a lot of us think that everybody is like us. We really do. And so we give away sage information. We give away all types of, and I'm not saying, I'm not going either way on drugs, as far as I'm talking about weed, as far as, whether it's good or bad. It's not something I partake in. I'm just taking that and using that as an instance on things that are, culture, well, part of our culture. I put it like that. It's not the culture, but it's been part of our culture, because it's been called different things, in different places throughout the diaspora. Okay, not just in America. But long story short, a lot of our culture has been infiltrated, and then the trash of it, meaning that the ideologies that come from the outside that taint it, okay, that that bring various black tribes to war with each other, bring various black neighborhoods to war with each other, bring various black families to war with each other, and bring various black rappers to war with each other. You see what I'm saying? How they take the culture and they'll just flip your culture, and make it a counterculture, or make it a subculture, or make it a subtitle under their big program. So we have to find out what it is that is making us okay with some of the trash within our culture. And then we have to find a way to make an accountability or a balance, because there's a false balance that's taking place here. And we need some type of a balance, because it's not healthy. The ecosystem of our culture is not healthy if it's not balanced. And I'll just land my plane there.
Thank you so much. I love what the last part you said. We have to find out what is making us comfortable with the culture. Where did she go? She dropped down. Oh, she probably have to go run. But that's what she said, right? What is making us so comfortable with the trash culture? And that's the second main question of tonight, right? What is making us comfortable with the trash? I want to go to Real Queen, because you was dropping, coming back. Okay.
Yeah, I was having technical problems. I can answer that question right now. What's making us so comfortable with the trash culture? In a lot of ways, that's all we got is the trash culture. But piggybacking off what the judge said, how the trained killer in the military is better than some thug sagging his pants, saying to the community, basically, he's a sissy, far and large. He's not really a killer. He's more of a problematic, let's say, dysfunction or a cancer in the community. But religion can be weaponized, books can be weaponized, propaganda can and is being weaponized, food can be weaponized, vaccines can and are being weaponized. So too our twerking culture, our hip hop culture can be weaponized. But the question is, are weapons the problem, or are the people behind the weapons picking up the weapons the problem? It's not the weapons, it's the people. And if we choose to, when we pick up these weapons, realize our intentions must be good, then the weapons can be for good. And the example is, if you pick a gun to defend a child, a mother, a family, say you're a cop, okay, a law enforcement officer, that's good. But don't pick up a weapon to be a thug, to be a criminal, to be a thief, a robber baron. Pick up a weapon to be a hero, as the judge pointed out. Don't do wrong with a weapon. Weaponize the weapon for good intentions. And I guess I'll land there.
Great points. I'm going to Derek. Derek. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Derek, maybe he's having a problem with the mute button. Derek, going once, going twice. All right, I want to go to the Negro. I don't know what's going on with Derek. That's probably having connection problems. The Negro, and then I'll go to
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
I'm gonna turn it up and go a different direction with this. I think the trash culture that's in our community could be considered as degenerate culture. I'll go so far as to say that it's anti-black, right? If you think white supremacy culture is degenerate, why not anti-black behavior that perpetuate stereotypes and things that is harmful to our community? Why is that not viewed as anti-black American in the same vein? That would be kind of my retort towards people that would like to support this trash culture, that they know that breeds criminality, that breeds unwanted suspicion in our community, and stuff of that nature. So that's just kind of my take on it. I feel that it comes across as anti-black because they know that these behaviors don't improve our community. It only makes us vulnerable to other outside forces.
All right. Let me say this before I go to Brooklyn. I don't know if Derek could hear me, but let me just say this real quick because sometimes in the past when we were doing the spaces, Judge, it will get a little heated, and that's fine. And it's nothing wrong with getting into a heated discussion and stuff like that. But I do appreciate lately the spaces that you've been holding, Judge. It's been productive, you could say, whether people agree or disagree. So I really appreciate that. But I also want to acknowledge hashtag ratchet, right? Because I do like to be ratchet at times. And I do appreciate shut up space on Saturdays because it do all true intentions. He do start off with having a good discussion, weekend review, and then for some reason it do turn. I like to describe it as ratchet, and I do love it when I do have the energy or if I'm in the mood, I will participate, and it's nothing wrong with that. The point that I'm trying to make here is I take accountability and I recognize that yes, I have some ratchetness in me. A lot of us do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that ratchetness is probably not over 10%, probably 5% of me, right? Everything else is about everything else. So I say all that to say there is a time and place for everything. But the problem is, particularly, and I'm just focused on Black people because I'm Black. The problem is, and I'm pretty sure every culture had this, but I'm just focused on Black people. The problem is when the majority of your time is focused on BS. The time and place for your everything is BS. When it should only be 10% or less. The BS needs to be less than 10% in every aspect of your life. So I just want to say that. And okay, let me just do a test. Derek, are you there? You go unmute. Maybe he doesn't hear me. Who was it? Did you want to say something, Judge?
I'm listening. Some good comments.
Oh, Brooklyn. I'm sorry, Brooklyn. I know it was another speaker. Go ahead, Brooklyn.
Hey, shalom to the space. Um, this trash culture is simple. We don't control our culture,
Bonnie has
and we
got a
haven't.
hand up.
What?
Can it? Can
What'd you
it?
say, Judge?
I said someone's got their hand up. Pani is our Pani.
I know, but it's
I don't think
Brooklyn's
the judge
turn.
can hear me.
Can you
Hello,
hear?
Judge.
Yeah,
Can you hear Brooklyn?
I hear. Yes, I hear. Well,
Say something. No, say
no, that's
something,
Pani
Brooklyn.
that's talking. Brooklyn
No,
is
no,
got
say
is
something,
muted.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I don't think the judge can hear me.
I can't hear anything.
All right, drop down, Judge, and come back up because there's certain people you
Yeah,
can't
I
hear.
just heard the other person. Is
Say
it
something.
Pani?
No, stop talking about panties. No,
He
no,
was
no,
talking. I heard him.
no. He
I
wasn't.
didn't.
That was Brooklyn.
Well, okay
Brooklyn. Can
then.
you please, Brooklyn? Can you please say something?
I, I'm talking right now. If the judge can hear me.
Say testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, Brooklyn.
Testing, testing, testing.
Can you
Did
hear
you hear
him?
that, Judge?
No, did you?
Yes, I told him to say it.
I didn't. I can't hear him. So
All
let
right,
me go
drop
back
down,
again.
Judge. And did everybody else hear Brooklyn?
Yeah, I hear him.
Did everybody else hear? Okay.
I
So,
heard that speaker right there who just spoke.
okay,
Whoever that was.
the Negro, can you just say testing?
Testing, I hear you. I gave you 100.
Did you hear the judge? Did you hear that, Judge?
I
Yes,
heard
ma'am. I
that.
heard the
Yes.
judge. I heard Brooklyn. I
No,
heard
not you,
everybody.
Negro, not you. Okay, Dr. Mark
I
say.
hear Negro. I hear Negro.
Okay, Dr. Mark say testing.
Testing.
I hear Dr. Mark.
Real Queen say testing.
Maybe I need to drop out and come
Testing.
back.
I hear Real Queen.
Now Brooklyn say testing.
Testing.
Okay, so you drop down, Brooklyn, and come back. Because the majority could hear each other, except for the judges couldn't hear you. Okay, he should be coming back. I don't know what's going on with Derek, honey.
Yo, Derek, are you there?
Derek.
Maybe he's just in transit somewhere, and that's why he's just staying muted. He said he couldn't unmute. So let me throw this out there. This is an election season. Derek is MAGA. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's funny that you can't unmute. And it's funny that the judge he can't hear certain people. It's funny, but it's not funny. Bottom line, what I'm saying is it's very intentional. It's very intentional.
Maxine.
Right. Exactly. Maxine Waters. All right, Brooklyn, say
All right, we
testing.
back.
Oh, I hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Brooklyn.
I was just gonna say that as far as this trash culture, we don't control our culture, and we haven't for a long time. Ever since we've been led into integrating and wanting to integrate this white man society. Art is politics, and anything that's being pushed out in our culture is being pushed out there by design, and we're not the ones in control of that. And when you go back to the scriptures, which you know as the Israelites, you know how we get down. The Bible is a black man's book. Everybody in it is black. All throughout the scriptures, we're told not to learn the way of the heathen, not to allow ourselves to mix into the culture of other nations. The scriptures say the leaders of our people cause us to err. And that describes how we've been led into this state where we're willing, we're in a place where we're willing and able to accept whatever's put out there because we have no control over what's put out there. The only solution is to spiritually separate, from this culture, from anything to do with wanting to be a part of the white man's society, to rebuild our morality, to rebuild Black masculinity, the family, the community, and to do it all from a real moral base. And it's not going to happen as long as we're trying to push back against something that we don't have control
over. Okay, great points. I really do appreciate everybody's commentary tonight. All right, so I'm gonna go to. Let me just do something real quick. Derek, testing.
I'm here if you can hear me.
Yes. Can you hear him, Judge?
Affirmative, I can.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to Derek, then I'm gonna go to Panties.
Good evening, Dana, Judge Brown, and everyone else in this space. I've been listening for probably about 20 minutes. Interesting conversation going on. I hear a lot of blaming that is going on, but you have to start looking within yourself, within your community, and why are you led by trash culture in yourself? We can't blame it on anyone else. We also, I heard the young man speak about the Bible. Everybody in the Bible black. It don't matter what about a color. It's basically it's about the word of God, and if the word of God is true, because knowing a color is not going to save you. Everybody in the Bible may have been black, but just knowing that it's not going to save you, you have to live by the words of God, and that's how I live my life. I do not indulge in trash culture. I never have, even as a young man. I disallowed trash culture, that type of music that was trashy. I bypassed that and I decided to educate myself and try to do something to uplift myself and my family, which was my sisters and brothers, 7 of us at the time. And it was 2 of us, me and my sister, a year apart. and we chose to work and send our siblings to college, helping our mom because I raised without my father, helping our mom send them through college. So those things, I think that actually what goes on, we glorify trash because we see the money that is being made by these rappers and whatever else is out there, and we haven't actually had a chance to grasp have a get a piece of the American dream. We always had, a little bit here and a little bit there. So when we do see something that you make money, everybody wants to be that. Well, I wants to be this rapper. I wants to be this particular person that can make lots of money. So this is where we err. And so we have to go back to the home, to the foundation, and we have to raise our children by the true words of God so they won't take place in trash culture. I have five myself. I have two boys and three girls. And I thank God they never got into the trash culture. They don't sag their pants. Not saying that if you sag your pants, you're a criminal, nothing else, because lately, with me doing outreach, I go into those communities and I find that the sagging pants, the twisted hair, the tattoo faces, they are very intelligent. And at this particular time, they want to take part in the political arena. They do not like they've seen what's how they've been treated. Their four parents been treated by the Democrat Party, by the two-tier justice system, and they are fed up. But there are some very wise and smart young men out there and women in that generation of the sagging pants and so forth, because I'm out there in the streets talking to them, and they open to register to vote, but a lot of them has criminal records, but they have served their time and bypassing. They didn't know that they could actually petition the parole board to get their rights back. These are things that's unknown to them. So I'm letting them know that, and I'm registering them to vote. But once again, it starts at home. This is where it starts. So if you don't raise your children with the admonition of God, they're gonna have that in them, and it's gonna stray out in everywhere, and it's gonna make a mess of our society. Personally, I don't point the finger at no white man and nobody else. Yes, we have been mistreated in America. We haven't been afforded the opportunity to get a piece of the American dream, like President Trump said when he was running. What you got to lose? And the black people got upset and mad about, like, why are you mad about it? He asking you a simple question: what do you have to lose? You've been in this hamster cage, and they've been dangling this cheese. So you on both sides of the party, Republican and Democrat, and you couldn't elevate yourself. So this is how I feel. I was blessed because I had a Christian mother, and she beat it through our head to get an education, a skill, or a trade. And she always told us, don't grow up to be an educated fool. And I always wondered why she said that. But when I seen all the so-called experts on TV and airways, I was, that's an educated fool. I saw what my mom meant, because they use absolutely no common sense. And now, Judge Brown, I'm glad that you are here. My cousin is the head judge in the Stone Mountain District in Georgia, and I sat in her courtroom. I come to the city, to Atlanta, to visit, and I sit in her courtroom and I
You talking
watch.
about Cobb County?
No, DeKalb County, Georgia.
Yeah, DeKalb. Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's there, and I had to pull her to the side, and I had to speak with her about having compassion, because basically she was sheltered. You know, her dad owned this liquor store, this, that, and she don't know about the street. She didn't know about the struggles of the black community and why people do certain things. And she was just hell on earth to those people. Wouldn't let this young man go to his mother's funeral. I mean, it was stuff that really didn't sit well with me. So I had a good talk with her about having compassion, pray for discernment. And she actually turned that around and started doing it. I was in her courtroom about a month ago again, and I was amazed how she was doing things in the courtroom. So we got to hold each other accountable and just go from there with it. But thank you. I land my plane there.
Hey, just to respond to that real quick, the point of saying that everybody in the Bible is black is more so saying that everything in the Bible is addressed to one group of people, and that's the Israelites. So if we understand that that's us, we understand that we have a culture and we have morals that were addressed to us, for us to hold on to, or for us to guard against a culture like the one that we're living in today that's anti everything that's in there. And the white man in America is anti everything moral and good. And if we understand that, then we can guard our culture against that, protect our morals, and rebuild our morals and disown trash culture.
Let me respond to that, because it's trash in every culture. Black, I don't care what culture, it's trash in everyone. And I call that the good and evil in whatever. It doesn't matter to me. And I'm not a black Israelite. And I have actually cousins that live in Israel. They are Jews, but they are not black Israelites. Now, to say that, biblically speaking, I would not want to be a Jew. But what the Bible says is going to come after the oh Lord, when I took my tongue, how they're going to be treated, I wouldn't wish that on nobody to be a Jew. According to the Bible, they gonna straight catch hell, and I do not
We
want.
already been through that. What you mean? We've been
And
through
they
that.
no, they haven't biblically been through everything that God is saying. You see, everybody is going against the Jews. 90% of the word is going against the Jews, man, and they are.
Do you say
Everything
this
that
to
you
the white
see in
Jews,
there.
Derek?
Do what?
Do you say this to the white Jews? What you're saying to this black man right now?
I say anything to anybody. I don't look at no color. I say anything to anybody. Just like I say, I would not want to be a Jew according to the Bible, because they're gonna be left here and they're gonna suffer trying to spread the word of God after the
Well, I need you to
rapture.
understand. I'm not sure what you're talking about with the rapture. That's Christianity. That's not in the Bible. But all the prophecies about what's going to happen, the
The
punishments that are
rapture
coming,
is in the
have played
Bible.
out.
It's
You've
in the
seen
Holy
that play
Bible.
out.
It's in the Holy
So
Bible. So people are stuck on skin color. What color somebody was
that's
makes absolutely no, because God created one race that is the human race. That's what He created.
that's
So
not
no,
biblical. That's not biblical at all.
okay, God. But anyway, God created one
Gentlemen,
race.
may I make a suggestion before we get sidetracked by talking about theology? I've
All right.
observed listening in, we've got followers of Islam, at least 2 Buddhists I can identify, I know. We've got at least 1 Hindu listening into, actually a couple of other traditional Jews are listening in. So this is a matter of contention, and frankly, I think we need to reserve whether or not there is this version of heaven and or hell, and who's going to do somebody the favor or disfavor of hurrying them up so they can find out if there is in fact such a place or not. Let's deal with the solutions at hand. That's a bit esoteric, and I think you got to check out first before you find out the truth of the matter. But I'm enjoying taking this sweet air in. It tastes good. So let's
and
continue
that's
to.
valid, Judge. Just the point that I was getting at is that we have a culture that was addressed to us. We have morals and laws that will fix our people today that will allow us to separate from this trash culture if we follow them.
Yeah, nobody in the world has trash culture as a choice unless they are deviants, social deviants. That's why it's called criminality. Every single culture, every single continent, every single tribe, every single nation, every single ethnicity has a concept of criminal behavior when you deviate from the cultural standards of behavior. So we cannot get away from that. And there's no way we can rationalize it by saying it's part of our culture, because it's not. It's a deviation from human culture, and that's not anybody's, uh, shall we say, goal or aim to be part of a deviant culture. It shouldn't be.
Okay.
Actually, kind of sick to ideate that way. And again, I studied propaganda from somebody. Well, I'll tell you who it was. It was a Soviet professor emeritus from the University of Moscow who was visiting UCLA back in the 60s. I was her teaching assistant, and she had been in charge of propaganda for the KGB. That's about as deep into propaganda as you can get. In other words, for the whole Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War, she had been in charge. So I was getting the mistress of propaganda to give instruction on how it worked. And in the 56, 7 years since now, I keep saying 55, but I lose track of time these days. What I learned is becoming more and more apparent, because I see more and more people just stubbornly uh, adhering to stuff that was put in their heads by intentional propaganda that I am still breathing long enough to see 50 plus years of. And it would almost be funny if it wasn't so tragic. So check yourself. And one of the things that is a target of propaganda, I'll say this, anybody can take it any way they want it, and it applies to a whole lot of things, so I'm not singling anybody out. You can tell when your efforts are successful because your targets try to be something that is associated with somebody else. That's just straight up political science, and that's from 57 years ago. So it's way in advance of any immediate circumstance. So you can just take it as neutral and perhaps objective. When you start trying to identify with and try to ideate being something that is associated with somebody else, you have been a successful target for propaganda. Now, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I'll give you a clue. The Nazis ideated on being Aryans. Aryans are supposed to be blonde-haired, blue-eyed. There are Aryans. The preface to it is Indo, I-N-D-O -Aryan, but they aren't blonde-haired, blue-eyed. They don't come from the far north. They come from the Indus River Valley. They tend to be Hindu, and they look like Kamala Harris. But you can see that doesn't match anybody's perceptions, most especially not the Aryan Nation, Aryan Brotherhood, or your traditional Nazi. But just keep that in mind in terms of claiming something outside of yourself, because propaganda has targeted you, and it wants you to do that because it does not want you to deal with your reality. Because if you see your reality, you can see your true foundation. And if you see your true foundation, you can build on it. If you are unable to conceptualize or accept your true foundation, then what winds up happening is you build on a chimera, a false image of yourself, which gets nowhere. That's just a rule of propaganda.
That's wisdom, Judge.
Um, I see Penny's drop down, so I'm gonna go to Charles, then Stacks at his hand up, Dr. Mark, and Young Toussaint, which is a speaker, and then I'll come to you, the Negro. Go ahead, Charles.
Charles?
Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I hear you now.
Yeah, this is a great conversation, but I'm gonna just say this. We can talk about all this theology all we want to. Anybody knows that having a father in the home is very important. You know, I tell you, I always say that Hitler had a mama and a daddy in the home, but that didn't stop him from being evil. At some point, when your children leave home, you would hope that what you gave them, they'll take it with them. But then they got their own thing. I keep telling people this culture is messed up. It's basically controlled by Satan himself. Any time you see some children, well, if you want to call them that, take over a bus and be on top of the bus, twerking, shooting guns, I think you have lost insanity in this culture now. Let me tell you something. You can lock them up. You can lock up 10 fools tonight, and it's going to be 10 fools in the morning. That's just where it is. It's very important that a father be in the home. Now, I always say Judge Joe Brown remind me of my father. Old school, don't play. You know, my dad put my ass so much, I thought it was his job. But, you know, he meant to put discipline on me. This is what he was. And see, people, I don't know how many folks know Judge Joe Brown. I remember Judge Joe Brown when he wasn't playing. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If you want to go up in his courtroom, you're going to learn one way or another. Because he had a guy washing cars for 8 years, and I don't even wash my car, so you know in hell I'm not going to his courtroom. You can bet sure that. Tell that right there. But we got to have a father in the home. This is very important. And like my daddy told me, he tells us all the time, if you go out and get a baby, the baby in and your ass is out. That means you got to get out of this house, go get 2, 3 jobs because this baby got to be taken care of. Shawty ain't gonna eat no books. I can tell you that right there. We got to have more men show up. And then when they show up, what kind of men? Okay, I need a strong man to show up. I need a warrior to show up. I don't need no man showing up with no fingernail polish. I don't need that. Now, what are you going to help me do? What are we going to talk about? What other color you going to put on your fingernails? That's what we're going to talk about because you ain't going to talk about it with me. My dad was a real man. And either I did what I was told or I suffered the consequences. Now, my brother had to learn the same way. He hit my brother on top of his head. When my brother came out of concussion protocol, I think the next time he had to worry about nobody telling me what to do because he did it. The father have to mean business in the home. He got to set a standard in the home. I understand the mama don't want to get no whooping. Well, mama, you go over there and cook that dinner and you nourish these babies. But that father, he's going to discipline. That's just the way that is. And I appreciate it, Dana. Appreciate it, Judge Joe Brown.
Thank you. Let me say something you brought up about the fathers in the home. In 2011, the U.S. Department of Defense, the Pentagon, issued quite a few white papers. That was studies. They call them white papers. And they said, we can make our recruits physically strong, but we can't make them tough. And one of the problems is that there are a lack of fathers in the home. Now, somebody brought this up earlier about what's what. With all ethnicities in the United States lumped into one group, they discovered on multiple studies that 42% of Americans 35 and under were born out of wedlock. And for those 20 and under, it was about 80%. So that was white, black, brown, red, yellow put into that pool. They found that the stats back in 2010, when they got them, that they used in the 2011 reports, which have remained the same, were this: only 28% of each year's high school graduates for the first 10 years of the 21st century were male. Only 32% of the college undergrads were male. Only 36% of the grad students were male, and only 44% of the workforce in America is male. They found that there were more boy virgins 25 years of age and under than girl virgins in that age range, and 30 and under, they found more boys were staying at home with a parent than girls. So they concluded that this lack of male imagery in the home was very bad for developing the mental toughness that they sought. Now, I find that interesting that instead of doing something to stabilize that or correct that, now this administration in 2024 is pushing trannies as generals, colonels, and high officers, and in the general troop base of the United States military, when they found that was a deficiency and a harm to what is needed for a fighting force 13 years ago, but they're doing it worse now. So I find it extraordinary that people don't learn and don't listen. That said, let's get back to you mentioned last caller was talking about Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler had a father in the home, but his father did not. His father's name was Schicklgruber, and that was Adolf's last name when he was born, Schicklgruber. But his father, Mr. Schicklgruber, Herr Schicklgruber, was born out of wedlock because Adolf Hitler's grandmama was a Fraulein, and she was the cleaning lady for a rich Jewish guy. So the rich Jewish guy was a daddy for Adolf Hitler's daddy, Mr. Schicklgruber, or Herr Schicklgruber. So maybe that lack of a father in the home had a great deal to do with Hitler's daddy not being able to do an adequate job on him, and it may also explain a lot of his later conduct. But it is what it is. That's just a little historical anecdote. I pass the mic.
Real quick, before I go to the reoccurring speakers, I want to go to a new speaker. I want to go to Young Toussaint, and then I'm gonna come back to Stacks, and then I'm gonna go to JM, and then Dr. Mark, and then Fatal, and then the Negro. So I want to do new speaker, older speaker, new speaker, older speaker. All right. So who did I say? Young Toussaint. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. Well, good evening. Good night to everybody. I'm not sure where everybody's at. Hello to everybody on stage. Um, I kind of just joined the conversation not too long ago, but if I can share my experience, as I'm 26, I did grow up without a father in the household myself, and I had family, siblings on my father's side who, an older sister who used to tell me that, I should do my best to, I guess, reach out to him and I guess ask him certain questions, kind of try to reconciliate before I don't have the chance to do so. And I was always kind of just like brushing that off, and I just wasn't interested in it because the last time I had seen my father, I was in the fifth grade. And I find myself as I've gotten older being more and more inquisitive just about mannerisms and certain maybe like ideas and ideologies that he might have held, or like, you know, um, I just find myself wondering a lot of times, like what things do I get from my father, or like, and it's not necessarily a sob story because it's not like I'm necessarily sad about it, but it's like that's half of you. And so understanding that like he had whatever relationship that he had with my mother and how that may have impacted me, it definitely makes me want to absolutely be a present father. And sometimes I wonder how that cycle, like I wonder what the difference is in terms of like young men who grew up without a father and they in turn end up not being able to be fathers versus young men who grow up without a father and end up wanting to be fathers and wanting to essentially kind of break that cycle. And so I guess I'll leave it there, and I just wanted to salute you guys because I definitely have been tapping in for a few years. Dana and Judge Joe, to all of the content that you guys have put out has been very constructive and has definitely helped me in terms of just having like there are a lot of elders. I guess just for some context, I'm currently working at a men's shelter, a veteran shelter, and uh, I'm looking at, firsthand, in my opinion, I'm looking at firsthand direct results of the system that we're facing, the system of white supremacy. In my eyes, others look at it as something different. But, I wonder how many of these individuals, how many of these men, young and old, had fathers present in the household, had mothers and fathers present in the household. What circumstances did their fathers deal with? So, I do think that this is a very important conversation, and I do want to thank you guys for even, listening to me and tapping in. So I appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you coming up. And I appreciate what you just saying. It's good stuff. Did you want to reply to any of that, Judge, before I move on to the next speaker?
Again, the term comes up, white supremacy. This is not a word or phrase that Black folk came up with. This was 100 some years ago. White people came up with it. White man's burden, white supremacy, the duty of white to spread civilization, the duty of the white race to civilize the world and bring civilization to the uncivilized tribes. That was looked at as an obligation, just like Christians look at the obligation to proselytize and convert the world, so to speak. When we say white supremacy, we really ought to get away from that because what it reflects is just one ethnic group imposing itself.
throughout the history of this world, as long as humans have been on it, that's been the rule. One group seems to attempt its imposition on others for its advantage. There's a thing called xenophobia. That is the dislike of humans for the strange and the unfamiliar. Racism is a form of xenophobia. One of the things that we get when we get into this whole thing, when we start conceptualizing white supremacy, is we psych ourselves down deep inside of our minds to think that when we say white supremacy, we're really saying they are supreme. And that means that subconsciously you are imputing an inferiority to yourself. So it's good to get away from thinking in those terms. Don't even use them, because even the recent usage did not come from black folk, it came from white folk, the liberal side of things. And you might start thinking of it as adversity, whether you're talking about Simba, the lion, who might find you a tasty snack for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or late night, or a crocodile, or a leopard, or a mad hippo, or a Cape buffalo, Mbogo, who might want to smash you down just because he's being bullish. We have to get into understanding once again that the world is filled with adversity. The planet Earth is not safe. And when you live on a place that's not safe, if you have psyched yourself out where you do not think you can prevail over the adversity, then you do yourself a disfavor. That's like two fighters are going to get into the ring and fight. They try to pull a sight job on each other, and one of them tries to get the other to believe that he can't win the fight. That's a good way of winning the fight, if you can convince your opponent that he can't. That's psychological warfare. They do it on a mass scale. And it has been done to Black people in America on a large scale, when it has got them thinking in terms of they've got to face white supremacy, not just adversity, but adversity that they label supreme adversity. You get into English language by the time you're grown, you know what it means. So when you say supremacy, you're talking about something superior to you. So when you view your world as one where it's you versus white supremacy, what you're saying to your subconscious is there are some people out there superior to me that are against me, and I don't know what I can do about it except beg them to stop acting bad toward me because they're superior. They're like mom and dad out there, a bad mom and dad, wicked stepmother and stepsisters in a Cinderella episode. But when you say white supremacy, and when you're going to cut the check, whether or not the check would be good, if you got it, you're asking the parent, so to speak, or not the parent, you're asking the boss, or not the boss, the slave master. Please, master, may I have some, please? I've been good. Please stop treating me bad. I ain't done nothing. That was that other one over there, not me. And see, that's a sight game that you're running on yourself. So it's a good idea, and I'm lecturing here, to get away from conceiving that the adversity that you feel because you are a human in a group where there are others who have interests adverse to yours, quit thinking of it as they possess supremacy. You can tell yourself they don't, but if you keep talking about white supremacy, your subconscious thinks they're superior to you. So the way to defeat that is put propaganda into your own head. Don't think that way. Now, Pastor
Thank
Mike.
you, Judge. Thank you, Judge, because I be in so many spaces and that's all I hear. And there's one man being there, and that's Mark King Carter, and he constantly tell them, get off the white supremacy shit, be a black supremacist, say you're a black supremacist. So that makes 1,000%. And I wish everybody that be in these spaces doing that could hear what you just said.
All right. I want to go to. All right. So I'm gonna go to Stacks, and then JM, and then Dr. Mark, and then Fatal, and then the Negro. And then I see Mikkel requesting to come up. It's no more space. So someone who's finished talking could drop down, or one of the old ones who's finished. So go ahead, Stacks.
I'll drop down after this, but I wanted to say we get more of what we accept. Like if we accept trash, if we think that it benefits us in some kind of way, maybe women will be more
Anybody there?
promiscuous. Yeah,
Okay,
you can't hear me?
wait 1 second. 1 second, Stacks. Can you hear me, Judge?
I hear you loud and clear, Miss Dana.
Okay, so Stacks, say testing, testing.
Testing, 1, 2.
Did you hear that?
I hear nothing at all.
Okay, Dr. Mark, can you say testing?
Testing, testing.
I hear that.
Real Queen, can you say testing? I don't know where she at. Negro, can you say testing? The Negro, can you say
Testing,
testing?
testing.
Affirmative, I hear.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Affirmative.
Derek?
Testing,
Okay, so Stacks, I think is you.
I hear everybody but Stacks. Sorry.
All right, drop down, Stacks, and come back up. And I'm gonna go to Dr. Mark. And Dr. Mark, when you talk, I'll just go down to speakers because someone's requesting to come up, and I want to let the new speakers have time as well. Go ahead, Dr. Mark.
Not a problem. It's been a great convo. I love it. But to talk about culture and getting back to morality and so forth. We talked about religion. Even if you're not a Christian, even if you don't believe in Jesus, I do. But even if you don't, the New Testament is filled with wisdom that anybody can use and apply it, and good things will happen for them. And with that, I'll just share Philippians 4:8, and it says the following. And this is just specific to changing or leaving trash culture. And it basically says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And that's what we have to do. There needs to be a great awakening, a great renewal of our minds. Um, and we have to meditate on things that build us up and not destroy. And with that, I do have to get to bed because I'm on call and I could get a phone call any moment. But I want to say, appreciate this. Thank you again, Dana. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, everybody. God bless y'all, and y'all have a great night.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. Always a pleasure to have you up here.
Thank you.
All right. And who did I say? JM. JM.
Okay. First, I want to thank you, Dana and Judge. Judge, we have accosted each other. I'm Secret's sister. We have accosted each other on a number of places. But first, I want to say that, and then I am an elder that have been trying to tell our people or trying to help our people to understand that if you want to think of supremacy as it is you, you are the supreme being. You forget that it's our ancestors as well as us that are warriors, so much that even they truly know they're not supreme and know the Black Americans are supreme. Think about it. When white people get rowdy, police are called. But when Black people just come together in the streets, it's and for any reason, what they always call what we would call the mightiest military on earth. So that if this example that I'm just saying doesn't stop you from saying white is supreme, then I think my job is larger than what I thought. And Judge, I had been inboxing you. I had started a series on bridging the gap, and it's us elders letting the other people understand that the way they are now, I would have to say this would probably can be considered to our ancestors as well as us trash culture, because they are just allowing everything. They're allowing too many people to share in our culture. They're allowing our men to be um, gay or women to be gay. They're allowing when that didn't happen. We made babies. We made families. Men worked. We were healthy. We lived longer. I just buried my uncle, 124. Nobody in my family has ever died under the age of 90. At April 4th, I just turned 72. And that's my picture. I was on my thing. This is my picture I took. I do not look 72, just as well as Judge, we don't look our age. And that's one thing that we all can hold to a high level, a high standard, is the fact that we don't crack for nothing. No one can crack us. And we are born. When we are born, it seems like we are born to fight. And I would love to send this greeting out to Dana as well as Judge to please come to one of my, and I'll do it upon the times you two are available. And it's called Bridging the Gap. Last time I had 405 in, it was a great, I learned some great things from the other generations, but I need now for the generations to understand me and you, Judge, because we come from the generation of whoop ass. Like, we don't play the games that they play on here. And when I go to say something, they call me old bitch. We don't play that shit. That right there could get your sippy taken off, as they would call. But that's back in the day. We had gentlemen. Men didn't say that because our women act like women. Women knew their place. I know my place with my husband. If you want to call me henpeck, if you want to call me whatever, I cook my husband meals, not out of a box and not out of a can. And we are healthy. So my thing is if you guys could just take time to listen to your elders, because understand the world and things that go on in the world. If you don't know, we will tell you. And I think Judge can second the fact that everything that happens, it just comes back around. At one point, we had mini skirts and bell bottoms. Then it went out of style. Then it came back in style. Then it went out of style. Then it came back in style. But what never was in style was men wearing legging like jeans. That wasn't in style. And that's just the honest truth. It is, and when you hang your pants off your butt, you really don't know what you're saying to a man that just got out of jail. You're saying, I'm ready. I'm here. I'm for it. So we have to fix a lot in our own community, and we have to stop allowing white people up to ask questions, because they are doing nothing but getting intel on how they can infiltrate us even more further. So we need to stop having meetings on here. And we have a brother. His name is Black Majority State. He has he's running a platform that's pretty much just like this. It's just like,
Hey, I'm not hearing anything. Am I the only one?
Yeah. I think you're the only one, Fatal. You might want to drop down because we could all hear JM.
okay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
It's okay.
to
No,
interrupt.
it's okay.
It's
So
okay.
drop down and come back up.
Okay. Thank you.
Go
But
ahead, continue, JM.
we have a place that we all can go, and he literally, I work in the background because of my where I used to work. I used to work in I have high security clearances. So I take and I vet these people. So everyone that is in there, you know that they are our people. And we have freedom of speech to the highest major. I mean, we could say anything. You can hold your own rooms, and you can make a little bit, you can make money faster. For everybody that you have, I think it's for every subscriber you have, or follower, you can make $2 every time they come in your room. So he's just done, and he put so much millions into this, and none of our people are taking advantage. And I think we should take advantage of that, and we should just leave this alone. Lastly, I'm sorry for being long-winded, but us Black people, we never was allowed to say nothing. That's why we long-winded. But lastly, I am having hashtag Project Blackout. Every 4th of the month, put down all social media. No one picks it up. If you have your cell phone, it's only to ring and make a talk and call somebody. But get out and start meeting and getting back where we know we are spiritual people. We are energy people. And on here, the energy isn't good. This is why there's so much arguing and bickering, because we are not in front of each other. So on every 4th, if you guys could, let's get it out. Hashtag Project Blackout. On the 4th, no social media. That's one way we can begin to show the white people that we matter. Because when we're not there, watch how their money drop. And on that note, thank you, Dana and Judge. Please answer my goddamn Judge, say something. Say something, Judge.
I have a lot of those DMs. I have a hard time getting around to all of them and doing
Well,
whatever else I have to do during the day.
because
Now,
and you got to get some of these rooms. It's like we the only elders to give a damn about our people.
I can't get in all these rooms because Dana and I do something Monday and Thursday. I
Right.
do with her on the X space on Tuesday. And on Friday, I have my show, and people are always trying to make other arrangements during the day on Monday through Friday. So I'm supposed to be
I
retired.
love to come to all your shows, you and Dana. I'm a avid supporter of our young sister. And Dana,
Now,
you
if
are
you
doing great.
get with Miss Dana and work through her, maybe you can get me, because
Well, I'm
I
talking.
don't do arrangements right now. I don't have my calendar. I've been used to
You
somebody
got
keeping my
a pen.
calendar for 30 years.
Pen. You got an ink pen by you.
No,
What you could do, you DM me the information. Like if it's like
Because I
an event you want him to come. Yeah, DM me the information and I'll send it over to him. That's the quickest way.
Okay, so your DM is under Dana.
Yeah, you could DM me right through X.
Oh,
My
okay. See, I don't. You know, this is another thing. This whole little social media stuff. I'm not with this. I'm used to seeing people,
yeah,
to seeing people and having people come over on Sundays and we sit and talk shit and drink beer and you understand what I'm saying.
yes, I
I
do.
still do that. Clean my greens on Saturday. I still do the old school.
Mhm. Well, yeah, just send me a message on X and then just and send me a message and I am following you and then I'll hit you back and then we'll just take it from there.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you so much for this room. And if you want to ask me, the trash culture seems to be like now, right now. It seems like it's going to trash. We're losing our identity. We're letting too many people in. We don't do this. This isn't it.
Right.
But
Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate
I'm
you.
gonna drop down.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All right, I'm gonna go to Stacks, then Fatal, then the Negro, then Mikkel, He I Am, Conserving, and Trina. How are you on time, Judge?
I'm okay.
Okay, and so if people want to request to come up, do so. So go ahead, Stacks. Is he still up here? Oh no, he dropped down. I'm sorry. So let me go to Fatal.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you. Can you hear him, Judge? Judge.
I was on mute. Excuse me. I hear you.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Hey, so I'm a middle school teacher. I'm at a predominantly black school. Nearly about every single year we have a kid that dies of gun violence.
Just talk up a
Um,
little bit. Just talk up a little. Put the
can
yeah.
you hear me better now? Can you hear me better now?
Wait, real quick. I need you to stay muted. Go ahead, Fatal.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a middle school teacher, and like I had said that about every year, we lose a kid due to gun violence. It's a predominantly black school, right? So, one of the things that a lot of people have mentioned, but I think definitely needs more attention, is like the influence that hip hop has on the black community, especially the youth. Cause like, me growing up as a young black man, being exposed to hip hop culture, like it glorifies all of the things that are destroying our community. And the record labels essentially like they just take the most ratchet person, and they make them an ambassador for black people. Essentially, give them $1 million and a platform. And so, this has been one of my main fights for a long time because I believe that we can start a mass awakening starting in the black community, like if we're able to steer the culture in a better direction, I think a mass awakening will automatically start, because we become whatever it is that we focus on. But with that also being said, I did a whole documentary on this. It's a short documentary that's called Fatal Error. And like it's on YouTube, so it's free. I have it in my profile. And I would say if you guys are people that genuinely want to see change, we have to make sure that we push the people that are trying to bring that change about. So definitely, please check out that documentary. It's called Fatal Error, and I think we can start a mass awakening genuinely. But if we don't, then it's like the black community is essentially on a sinking ship for the rest of the time if we're not able to find a way to get rid of this trash culture. And also, I'm gonna DM you that both of you guys. I know the DMs is full, but I'm gonna DM you guys the documentary. I'm gonna land it right there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go to who did I say? the Negro, and then Mikkel, then Here I Am, Conserving, and Trina. The Negro, the Negro. All right, let me go to Mikkel.
Thank you, great Black and enlightened family, for the opportunity to spend another 2 minutes building with you. The great Jim Brown once said that you dominate, well, you intimidate with your physicality, but you dominate with your mentality, meaning your mind. In the game of power, in most cases, is where the Black people, specifically, let's speak regarding the Black men, we don't excel. And I'll give you another example since we're talking about Black men being in the homes. I have a cousin. It's my first cousin, like an older brother. We were both raised by my grandmother. Again, no Black men at the home, in the homes. But we were very disciplined. And this cousin went into the military and became severely impaired. And he was very hard on his youngest son. And he would often tell me, this kid, he's too defiant. He talks back too much. He doesn't listen. He's not going to be shit. He better clean his bedroom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, came back to Philly from LA, and I see this kid, and he's staring at me. And I see myself. I see his defiance. But also in his eyes, I see his brilliance. And I see his mercurial mind. And I understand that my cousin, older cousin, is trying to turn a mastiff into a lapdog. And so I told my cousin, don't worry about him. I got him. And I will wink at the kid and he'll be staring. And so when my cousin will come to visit me and I'll land, I would say, bring the kid, right? And the kid, of course, he was fascinated by my lifestyle and how I talked to him and how I treated him and made him feel important. In fact, he was important. And he had an email. And so I told him to give me his email because I'm a strategist. I'm doing a lot of political work. And I said, I need your opinion. I need your advice in terms of how to connect to the youth. Can you help me? I said, of course, because, right? He was excited. I'm constantly asking him, what would you do regarding this? What would you do regarding that? And he always had a brilliant reply, right? One day I asked him, I said, so cousin, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? He said, I want to do what you're doing, big cuz. And today, this kid is in the top under 30 strategists and lobbyists in this country, in the US. In fact, he's been here on the continent with me working as a geopolitical strategist. I helped him get his first job with the #1 lobbying firm in Pennsylvania. He left that firm, started his own firm, and then just recently they merged. Again, it's a certain type of power, not brute force, but mental power that's naturally there. You know, our Black youth want to be powerful, want respect, and want to know how to whoop their, their opposition. And if you teach them how to win, how to dominate, then that will be for them a better choice or a better option than, walking around with their pants sagging, trying to play tough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll land with that and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I love you all.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much. All right, the Negro, are you back up? Can you hear me? The
Yeah, can you
Negro.
hear me now? Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you guys couldn't hear me when I was talking?
No.
Oh, shit happens. All right. I want to say thank you, Dana, first of all, and Judge for holding space. I think this is a very important conversation about people that could be viewed as problematic in our community, and what are ways that we can address those type of things without having other communities voicing their concerns about our private business. I think that that's a much needed conversation on and off the app. The other aspect is that I think that there should be a rejuvenation in how we view God, how we view morality, stuff of that nature, and align it more to who we are as a lineage and stuff of that nature versus taking something that was handed to us, because our ancestors had things that was prepared for us, that we should be exploring, especially in the time and age that we live in with the age of information. So I want to say thank you for holding the space. It's good to see Judge and Dana as always, and salute to you guys and have a great evening.
Right, you too. Appreciate you. All right, so I'm gonna go to He I Am.
Thanks.
I'm gonna go to He I Am Conserving and Trina. And if anybody else is not requesting, we could close it out. So go ahead, He I Am.
Thank you for letting me speak. I think what we're talking about is just simply self-respect. When you're talking about trash culture, these people or these individuals have no self-respect for themselves. For themselves. I heard a lot of people say fathers, which is very important in a family, as well as the and cousins and everybody else. I grew up with strong men in my family, and I don't like censorship, which is what I'm hearing when some people are saying, "Well, we need to do this." And I said, well, where does it end? Because I remember when the men in my family, my father, my grandfather, my uncles would all get together and they would go out into the garage and they would get these records. And the kids wasn't allowed to be in there, but we would sneak around there and they would listen to Red Fox and they would listen to Richard Pryor and they would listen to these things, these records. And these words that these people would say on these records were just as bad as the words you're hearing on these rap. So what is missing? And that is self-respect. There's a time and a place for everything, but there's never a time to go into a place and start shaking your behind. That's not a place, or restaurant is not a place for that. Church is not a place to go and have your pants sagging and your dress up to your yoo-hoo. It's not a place for that. And we need to get back to teaching our children self-respect. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And yeah, self-respect, um, which is a lost word nowadays. Okay, so conserving, and then Trina.
Hey, Dana, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear him, Judge?
Affirmative.
Okay.
I think JM earlier advised creating like black only spaces, but I just wanted to say I'm a Latino judge, and I've been following a lot of the spaces, and also I love your lectures on YouTube. So for me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for holding these spaces and these X's. What I was going to ask you was, there's a lot of information that we get out of you. For example, I really appreciate your lectures on the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. So my question for you was, where can somebody go, like find this information, like in a textbook or a source? Because a lot of the information that you share, you can't necessarily get from the media or from like your average common textbook.
I'm third world. That's why we prospered back in the 60s. And you get your allies where you can find them from. I'm not so xenophobic. I have a firm belief or an opinion that truth has no face but truth itself, and it does not matter where the truth comes from. It is the truth if it is the truth. So, yeah. Now, some of the stuff I tell you, I have a rather eidetic memory, and I tone it down a lot because it scares people, but I've read a lot of stuff over the last 60 years, let's say, and I regurgitate it. I can remember where some of it's to be found, but a lot of it is in hardback or softback books. You're not going to find it on the net because nobody copied the book onto the net. A lot of it comes from old magazines, technical magazines, the type that they used to have where they had Time, Newsweek, Life magazine, Look magazine, and they came out once a week. And you'd read these things, and I don't know where the hell you'd find them now. But there are these things called libraries, and there are these things called bookstores. They still have a few of them left around, not nearly as many as they used to have, but go to them and you can find this stuff. It's not going to be subject to Google lookup, because I found that there's a lot of stuff I know I can get it in a library, and I try to find it on Google and I can't find it. Some of the stuff involves me personally because I was there or involved in it, and I don't see it on Google. I don't see it on the net because somebody hasn't transposed it to the net. You kind of have to keep your ear to the ground, read everything, and there's plenty of time to do it if you don't waste your time. That's why I'm not into, the music sounds okay, fine, but I'm not into getting into what somebody did to make it. I don't care if it sounds good, it's fine. I might forget the artist's name. I don't care. Never been into that. Because there's so much more out there that's exciting to acquire. You see, if you're going to be a sorcerer, you have to be able to get into the magic books. The magic books are those things you read that allow you to work the magic necessary to cast the spells to make the world work. It's not really magic, but it works like that because technology to the ignorant looks like magic. Information to the ignorant looks like magic. So learn how to be a sorcerer and get into the magic books and just dig. Now, one of the more enlightening things I had is experienced in life is at UCLA. There's a guy named Ray Macias. He wound up marrying a black woman. They both retired as professors out there. And he used to take everybody with him to go visit his cousin down in central Mexico, who was a patron. Very fascinating individual, and we got exposed to a lot of culture. And we exposed him to a lot of culture, and we all collaborated on a lot of things, and we worked a lot of magic. Now I see people who strike me as very afraid of their own personal lack, and they are reticent about working with others outside of their own little familiar group. And if it doesn't have a label on it that associates itself with their group, they aren't interested. But do you think we don't study China because we're not Chinese? Hell, they could blow up the world. You think we don't study the Soviet Union or Russia because they're not part of the United States? Do you think we don't study ancient Rome because they're not Americans right now? we study people because they're humans, and there's no monopoly on discovering things that are of use to other people. So it behooves everyone to unask this little scary thing they've got in their minds about they don't want to deal with other people, and look into what other people might teach them. I like burritos. I like Szechuan beef. I like barbecue. These are all from different places. I like spaghetti and pasta. But you think I would be able to enjoy that if I were to say, oh, it ain't soul food? And then, yeah, I got to have me some soul food, and then talk about it got to be black. But if you live in the South, you know that white and black, everybody goes to the same restaurants and eats the same food. So it all sounds kind of silly when people get to try to excluding other parts of humanity because it doesn't have their label on it. So I would just say, go read everything you can. Feel like something's wrong if you aren't reading the ketchup bottles. Make that a habit, and you will never get bored. I didn't answer your question, but I touched around it.
No, I really appreciate it, Judge. It's just like I feel like sometimes you go into the books and they'll tell you one thing, and then there's another book that tells you something completely different. And I was just wondering, like, what authors you favor, because I think there's like a little bit of truth in every book, but then there's also like a little bit of untruth in a lot of the books too, And like I said, I watched your lectures, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I haven't read before. You know what I mean? But I really appreciate your answer. Thank you so much.
I would also like to add to that, because you're right.
Thank you.
You could read one thing, and then you could read something else that is the same topic, but could be having a different conclusion. But with that, a lot of times if you read a book, they have citations. You could look at the citations that they're listed, and go and reference those books and documentaries as well. So it's like a never ending story, sort of say. You just can't find one book on a subject that's going to be the one true book. So, and I think that's the mystique, but also the glory of learning. So I want to go to Trina.
Hey, Dana. Hey, Just Joe. How are you
Hi.
guys? First off, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I listen to you guys quite often, and
Hi,
it's
cuz.
just a joy. Hey, cuz. But just real quick, as far as the topic, do Black people need to disown trash culture? I believe yes. But something that I wanted to elaborate on, and a lot of your podcasts, I hear a lot about the white supremacists, and I don't really see it that way. I see that, and I'm looking at, like, in Memphis, the the very far left yellow dog liberal Democrats. They're more of a white elitist, um, and for me, being a Black female, I'm not going to allow any white person to tell me that I'm subpar because of my race, or, I might not be successful or as smart as a white person because of my race, or I'm brainwashed, or I'm an Uncle Tom because I can't think for myself about Trump. To me, that's no difference than, back when the slave owners were telling the slaves what was in the Bible because they couldn't read. Like, today, we can't think for ourselves. And there was a gentleman earlier, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about trash culture, and, white people are taking advantage of being on disability. He mentioned something about a fire. And I don't necessarily think that that's a white thing. Unfortunately, I have, several family members that are on disability that are using that same example like he did. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. I don't think race has a barrier of who cheats the disability system. But I do agree that the young people today have a lot less self-respect than when I grew up. So that's all I wanted to say. And again, thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, real quick, you had your hand up.
Full disclosure, the speaker is cousin to my last ex. So didn't everything fall completely out of line? And thanks for the hat. She just brought me over a mega cap.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, real queen. And I don't know, Derek, you haven't had your hand up, so I'm assuming you didn't want to say anything else. But go ahead, real queen, and I'll go to you, Derek, if you want to say something, and then we're going to close out. Go ahead, real queen.
So, Honorable Judge, I have a question for you, sir. Can you elaborate on where the
Real
Hebrew
queen?
Israelites came from? Can you hear me?
Okay, so you can't hear her?
I can't hear her.
All right, you're gonna have to drop down and come back up. Derek, are you still there?
Okay.
I don't think Derek is still there. Maybe he walked away. She's gonna come down and come back up. I knew you was coming back up. Judge, can you mute? I don't want to hear you wash dishes or stirring the grits, honey.
Washing dishes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess I need a wife around here, which I don't have. But anyway, I gotta make do.
All right. So, what is your question, real queen? Can you hear us, real queen?
Okay, I can hear you now. Can the judge hear me?
Can you hear her?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, Honorable Judge, can you please tell us where the Black Hebrew Israelites came from, or the Black Hebrews, or the Hebrews? Because I'm curious. I think they're a terrorist organization, in my own opinion. But can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I'm right here, so you can go ahead and explain why you think we're a terrorist organization.
Well,
I wasn't asking you, sir. I was asking the judge.
Well, I don't have any information on it because it's not been the topic of any research that I can say I have exercised or anything else. I don't tend to pay much attention to such things because when I asked the question I asked earlier, I said, does it do anything about making your tomorrow better? It may for some people, but it has a neutral impact on mine and existence and tomorrow's. And I know I have friends on both sides of all of the questions. And like I said, it's not worth my time to spend any time worrying about what happens when I die. I'll find out soon enough or not. So I just leave it at that.
And to be clear, what the message that we bring is what's happening right now and how to solve the condition that we as a people are in right now. But there was an allegation made that I would love to hear substantiated.
My suggestion
well, Black man came up here. Okay.
My suggestion is considering what we have to face in the world, that we leave such esoteric things as theology to another time, place, and forum, because that is, well, I'm not I
It's a
have enough.
distraction because that's
I,
not what we're talking about today. And this is why I don't really go into religion, because everybody has their own religion that they follow, and I respect everyone's religion. Um,
Which I agree that that was off topic and out of left field, but the person made it a point to come up here and say all that, and so they
yeah,
should be
which
put on the spot to back that up.
but back what up exactly? The
There was a
question
claim
she
made that we're
asked.
a bunch of terrorists.
Oh.
That's the word she used.
Yeah, and let's not, because I am on YouTube, so let's not use that word. Um
YouTube, we can't speak certain things on
right.
YouTube.
And what is the
And
relevance to that to the topic? Because that's not the topic right now. And I don't have the energy to really want to hear, you know, why that question was asked, sort of. I just,
and by the
so
way, we need to do something about YouTube. That's beginning to look quite like Nazis.
yeah, it is.
And
All right.
Maxine Waters, we never got around to, but she was saying that she has it on good information that if Trump loses, then MAGA supporters and Trump supporters will rise in a civil war. So
And
she's
they're training in
suggesting,
the hills right now.
yeah, so she's suggesting to Biden and the attorney general that all Trump supporters of whatever persuasion, MAGA supporters, be put under close, immediate surveillance so we can be kept track of. And if necessary, something can be done so we will be out of the picture if Trump loses.
Right. Well, yeah, and
Which
then
sounds
too,
awful lot like NAZI, National
right.
Socialist Workers' Party, Germany.
And also, just for clarity to your question, real queen, Israelites is not a terrorist group or religion.
I think we all know that. She just wanted to say something empty and baseless and just put it out there without being challenged.
No, it's because a black man came up earlier and said, separate your anger from your man business. Every time I turn around, Hebrews are angry. They talk crap about women. So that's why I said that. I just wanted clarity.
Well, look at who's coming up here and slandering us. We go out there and call the white man the devil every day, but look at who's taking the time to come up off topic and slander us.
Okay, so we're not going to elaborate anymore because yeah, that's not the topic. And I'm getting tired. And we've been up here. Let me check. 3 hours. So I do want to say thank you to all of the speakers. Yeah, 3 hours exactly. Everybody on YouTube, appreciate you guys for hanging in there. And everybody here on this X Space, appreciate you. And everybody that came up, all the speakers, everyone on this panel, love what everybody had to say. Great discussion. And it's very informative. What's another word? We just need more intellectual spaces like this. So, and then do some networking as well. And I don't care if a non-black person come into the space, because we're not talking about anything top secret. And if you got to talk about something top secret, you should be doing something in your community where you live at first, talking about top secret. So yeah, I wanted to put that out there. But and with that, everybody have a wonderful week. We will be live on YouTube on Thursday, so you can go to the Real Dana. And I'll put in the Jumbotron, Judge Joe Brown barbecue sauce. I'll put the links. You can go to the website, jjbbbq.com, or on Amazon. Amazon, the shipping is a little bit cheaper, but the barbecue sauce is delicious. So go check out the barbecue sauce. And Judge, close us out.
And as I said earlier, truth has no face but truth itself. And study truth where it lies. It matters not the ethnicity, It matters not the political agenda. Truth can be truth. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. And it makes no difference who says that, because when they walk out the door or come in the door, 2 + 2 is still 4. Now, with that, have a good time.